Futures back to the upside here this morning, trying to hold on to a very, very slight gain to start things off. We were lower initially this morning, but starting to get a little bit of a rebound here ahead of a whole bunch of economic data to get sorted out this morning. And over the next couple of days, we'll get a CPI reading. We'll get a whole bunch of employment data as well. ADP private number coming up this morning. It's a weekly print. We'll also get retail sales coming up this morning at 8:30. Import-export prices as well to come. So stay tuned for 8:30. We'll get a big dump at that point, and then retail inventories and business inventories coming up at 10 o'clock this morning. Speaking of a bit of a dump right now, there's dark bull prints. Ignore that candle. That is not actually correct at this point. Big day yesterday, though. That's Palantir, yeah. Big day yesterday for Palantir. Just watching right now as we come back in a little bit this morning on Watch with Michael Burry giving his opinion on Palantir today. We'll talk about that coming up as well. More earnings tonight after the close. Robinhood going to headline the earnings parade coming through. We'll bring that to you live as it comes out after 4 p.m. tonight. The next couple of days going to be interesting on the earnings calendar. Big tech maybe back in focus. There's a couple of headlines this morning around Apple specifically, Alphabet as well, Microsoft and Cisco. Interesting look this morning as well. A few analysts with opinions on how the networking side of things could come back into play as these data centers get built out more and more. And the need for the networking side of things could come back into play as well. So big day yesterday for Cisco. We'll see if we can hold on to slight gains here this morning. Sharif's having an argument with his computer at the moment. Did you teach it a lesson?
No. Okay. No, absolutely not. I'm getting dominated right now. But good morning, everybody. Computer issues to start this Tuesday morning. There's a whole lot to talk about. Google looking to raise money with a bond raise there, so we'll talk about that. Tesla executives headed out the door, and the UK antitrust push pressures Apple and Google to kind of reform their App Store or Play Store settings. And then you've got Cisco, which kind of caught my attention with a custom ASICs. As again, Brendo, we're going to see this custom silicon coming in, eating into the margins of NVDA as people look to make specific chips for the specific tasks they're running in their data centers. So a good look. Some earnings names to get to as well. Yeah. CVS, Coke, Oscar Health, all reporting this morning. Yeah, it's a surprise miss for Coke, a rare miss for Coke. I guess $75 here coming into play right now. Downside in a big way. What did we go out at yesterday? $78. So not huge on the percentage side of things, but a rare miss on the revenue side of things here for Coke. And it keeps we keep seeing this. Like, I don't know if you noticed in this country, but they canceled Minute Maid, those concentrate.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, those concentrate orange juices. They're really trying to push more into a health kick, less sugar, more into focus of health. So keep tabs on that. And then your favorite company reported this morning.
Which one?
Race.
Oh, okay.
Ferrari. I know you're a big fan. Ferrari reporting this morning.
Did you see they came out yesterday with that electric? They showed the interior of the first all-electric Ferrari for the first time yesterday. I wasn't impressed.
The purists are going to love that.
I wasn't impressed at all, but I don't know. I was talking to Randy about it. He wasn't either.
It wasn't either.
Yeah, huh? No, I don't know where they're going with this, but anyways, we'll touch on race actually up to the tune of 5 or 6% right now. So pretty good report for Ferrari, guys. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody, and well, it's a good morning if you're a shareholder of TSM. It's a good morning if you're a shareholder of Oscar. It's a good morning if you, we were up, but now we're red on the ES and the Nasdaq, but we're challenging on the ES, the 7,000 level. Oscar with a big guidance beat. Always talk about, forget about the top and the bottom. It's all about that guide. They missed on top, missed on bottom, and we're still able to get to the upside. TSM sales numbers. Looks like they can give a boost to the chips today, up 2 points. So you've got NVIDIA holding over 190. Hasn't done that in a little bit of time. And that note about Michael Burry seeing a pattern on Palantir. Interesting.
What was the pattern he was seeing?
He's like some head and shoulders on Palantir.
One of those.
I mean, but didn't it make a head and shoulders like 2 weeks ago? I don't know. Isn't wouldn't that be the head and then wouldn't that be the shoulders? So wouldn't that call have been? I don't know. At the beginning of the year, it looks like it made a head and the shoulders. Maybe now, I don't know how you would call that a. Whatever. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Actually, Palantir, if you remember from the afternoon yesterday, was setting up for that breakaway through the 146. It actually tagged 10, 15 cents above. From the pre-market, it did break that level. It's going to have to do it twice to like the breakout long, obviously. But yeah, day trading, a little different. Today, obviously, we had some good runners in the chip space, in some of these recoveries and growth stocks. Look for a little continuation there with one notable exception. Bitcoin did not break 70,000. Bitcoin is now under, is still under, I should say, 69,000. So that's weak. Despite the fact you had a good rally, it was solid. It held some gains yesterday, but wasn't able to really punch through that 70,000. Still a resistance level on BTC.
And from BTC over to silver. I mean, I'm going to look at silver today down 2.3%. I've already written it down on the note here. We'll look to see about a short, I think, today in silver. Trying to break underneath VWAP a little bit. I mean, it's still really early to decide what's going on. As Brendan said, there's a bunch of dark pools ticking off into there. Alibaba a little bit upside. I mean, there's not much. ES and the Nasdaq both relatively meh today so far. I mean, unfortunately, we're starting to point southbound here, as we can see in the market. But, woke up and everything was kind of okay, and now everything is not so okay, down about 100 points right now on the Nasdaq, and similarly on the ES, with the move just a little lesser than expected. Yeah, Coke, I mean, we know that, Warren Buffett and all them have been sort of selling some of their positions off, and you can see Coke with a nice move to the downside, as Brendan said, down 4%. That's a pretty big percentage move down there. It takes them a while to get up, but we just had like a huge week and a half there for KO. So you're just coming back into a potential buy zone, I think, anyways, for KO. We'll have to talk about that as we go through the earnings. Yeah, I have a pretty big headache right now, so I don't know what the hell is going on. So we'll be drinking some water here, ready to get going. Yeah, futures, maybe looking short on silver. Bitcoin's an interesting call under 70,000. That should be something decent to look forward to. And then, yeah, Palantir was moving around yesterday. And then Oscar has been getting beat up. So it's like, yeah, it's up 9% or whatever it was today, now 7%. So we'll see, like a big, huge guide there. I was expecting 12.8 and guided like 17 to 19 or something. So an absolutely big guide on the billions aside there. So we'll see where we can go. Just falls right into the lap again of support at $12, and now nothing but upside from here. So there's UNH. Maybe, and that's still 275. I was wondering if they were catching a little bit on that as well, but no.
They're still getting smacked.
Yeah, they've had a nice little downside push there. That Trump RX news, and I mean, that shouldn't really, I guess that affects UNH obviously, but 260, yeah. That was a really nice rally back, right? Like from that 240 up to 380. Now you're almost right back in again. This is probably, it's funny because the Dow's at all-time highs, so we know that UNH is a big one there.
Well, for me, thank you, Brian Shannon, with the note about the downward sloping 200-period moving average on UNH, because look, and ultimately, you always have to make your own decisions, but you're looking for reasons sometimes as to what to do. And I'm just only speaking for, like when I had a swing in this at $300 and was actually thinking it was going to close this gap. I was the trade's off here, we'll scalp, and then we'll look for it to press into the 440s, 450s, just a pure technical thing. And then there was something that Brian Shannon, who I believe might be on today's Tuesday, so hopefully we'll have it in the afternoon, talked about be wary of having huge targets or the bigger targets on something with a downward sloping 200-period moving average, because that's suggestive of a long-term trend. So instead of that, I was like, okay, well, I'll take more out in front of the 200 and then just trail it to the 50 and not look for the home run trade. Just be happy with the win and look at the stock. Obviously, bad news has hit it as well, but it's something to look for. You just much prefer holding longer on something that's in an upward trend. If it's in a downward overall long-term trend still, it can be a little bit, I guess. The best way to think of it is everyone always wants that big winner on a stock that's been depressed. But oftentimes it's down there for a reason. And if you get a good bottom, it's better to bank off of it than try to hope that suddenly that stock is going to turn around in the long term. Best to hold the ones that are consistently making fresh highs. Hold that for the dream. It's a heck of a lot easier to do than try to hope that you've got the bottom on something. So UNH doing its thing. Unfortunately, two-set downside, but that's okay. If you're looking at the health stocks today, just focus on Oscar. That's looking a little bit strong, and then you won't have to worry about the doldrums of UNH. One thing I look back, I'm like, oh, where'd Sharif go? Because I was going to actually reference something that Sharif said. Just the backlog that Caterpillar is dealing with right now. Oh, there he is. No, like this stock has been on absolute fire. Just another fresh high here today, and is what I mean. We say it's not that much of a day trading stock, but it actually has had some pretty good moves. Last couple of points in yesterday's trade, a new fresh highs. You can always find. I'm just using this as an example of the other side of the UNH. Like if you happen to be in a swing and something is making fresh highs, it's a heck of a lot easier to hold on when the trend looks like this. So much better. Bottom picking is fun, don't get me wrong. It just, you always feel great if you have a bottom, but much easier to hold on when you've got an absolute banger or a winner that has a chart that looks like this, right, Sharif? I know he likes it. I like the sausage.
You and I were talking about this as well. I was telling you, like, completely took me by surprise the insane backlog for the generators for these data centers. I was telling you the story about the OpenAI president basically meeting with these huge swaths of investors who kind of just, all they do is have these big data center storage areas, and they're like, hey, you know, come open up a data center with us. We've got the space, you know, everything's good. And then so the first question they'll ask them, okay, so what's your uptime? And they'll be like, whatever the utility company is. Like, well, that doesn't work for us. We need 100% uptime. So like, all right, we'll order the generators. Well, there's a 2-3 year backlog for those generators, so get in line. And so that's why you're seeing this parabolic move here.
Yeah, it's the same argument. I mean, you can talk about the materials even that are being used to build these things. I mean, everyone gets so focused at the product coming out the door and the end of the line, but there's so many things that have to fall into place before that, you know, to produce the thing that are going to be huge opportunities as well. I was just keeping an eye on Spotify here. There were some dark prints there, so ignore this candle again at 8 a.m. But coming back in a hurry here, we're back through 450 right now to the downside. This is a pretty good report, though, from Spotify. One headline, or at least one note from an analyst this morning, essentially led off the note saying, finally consistent profitability from this company.
And when you add 1 million more users than the street expected, you get a check mark and an A+ beside your name, Brendo. Yeah. So they added 9 million premium subs. So those are the paid subs, obviously, ahead of the 8. Now they have 290 million premium subs who are paying. I'm included in that list. That's a 10% year-over-year bump, but they're monthly active users, so the amount of users they can monetize, not just paying, 751 million. So, and 516 earnings per share, Brendo, so they're well in profitability territory on revenue of more than $5.25 billion. So now they're running annual rate is going to be over $20 billion dollars.
And the impressive part of this is who they're competing with for these customers. You know, it's not like they're teeny tiny little options in small companies. It's Google and Apple that they're competing with and doing quite well here, guys. So not very much volume behind this move yet, guys, but Spotify looking good here so far.
I mean, it's hard to argue. It was a pretty hefty EPS beat for sure. But it's not, again, it's not always about the top and bottom line. But this is, just to go back to, just for a split second, what we were just mentioning about trying to catch bottoms and sort of the nature of what to expect from a move. On the first day, when you're getting a relief rally in a stock, I find it on light volume pre-market, it's not the end of the world if you have good news and you start pulling back a little bit. Heck, I mean, Oscar, which we were just talking about, is doing that. Spotify is doing that. It wouldn't be the first time. We've seen the banks do this from time to time, actually, a lot of that in this last quarter, where you do see the dip in the pre-market. What's more important is at the open, if it tries to fill in that gap, that'll be a bad sign for me on Spotify. Because if this just turns into, a bump for people to try to dump off, yuck. And then wait for another support level to try to come in here on something like a Spotify. And this would be a high example of you need to see volume. It's an expensive stock. B, it doesn't usually do a bunch of pre-market volume. You want to see the opening. Remember there was a day, it wasn't necessarily Spotify, but it was a similar stock. It was high priced, heavy spread, like that kind of deal. And I was on the desk, Sean wasn't in, I was on the desk with the Rune. And I remember, it was like, for some reason, I liked the stock as a fade, and let's just say he liked it as a long. And it was so whippy in the first 5 minutes of the open. Ultimately, it was a good short, but it ran both sides heavy and then decided it was going to pick a direction. So if you had any traditional stop, all it did is like run your stops, and then eventually ended up being like a really good short. But it didn't matter because it was the spread was so insane at the open that it was almost untradeable unless you just wanted to give it like a super, super wide stop. So I think Spotify probably falls into that category, but it's also in the category of it's in the downward slope and it's been doing really poorly. So great. Nice bounce here for the day trade, let it settle down, but definitely give this one some time to prove its worth. Because, and again, I'm probably a little bit biased because I'm not a Spotify user. We got rid of it and we're all YouTube now, YouTube Premium, and YouTube Music. But I see so much competition for them, and I feel like they've been out of favor for a bit, and just one bounce might not be enough. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm not in Spotify. I think that the competition is the real problem there as it starts to ramp up. But I mean, they're putting up the numbers, so we can talk about competition all we want. But 2.95 was the estimate, and they put up 5.16, so that's huge, right? So $5.16 versus $2.95, so it's absolutely monstrous for this un-American company, Spotify. Yeah, you're welcome. That was great. I mean, glad that you did well on your NVIDIA trade. So thank you so much for that one, Steve Irwin. Can Amazon get back to 230? I mean, everything is obviously depending on time frame, but yeah, I mean, that is where your 50-period moving average is. Amazon did nothing all last year. You know, it was a pretty meh stock. And I was just thinking, like, you might be in for that again. Like, I think it might be a decent buy down here, just because of how much it's been beat up after its earnings call. And it was like, you know, they hated on the Capex, and we haven't seen Microsoft really recover from that kind of a play. We saw, obviously, Meta be rewarded on that. We're not seeing it being rewarded at Amazon, not yet. And now this is day 3, or maybe this is day 4 off of earnings. So, you know, we should start to see it climb a little bit back upside. With the market being down, Amazon's up. So I do think that the 230 is probably the right look. I can't put a time on it. Like, I have no idea. I mean, will upgrades get it there? I mean, upgrades could get, 215, 220-ish. And then we have to deal with this 200-period moving average. Last time we were under here, we spent a little bit of time underneath, and that was obviously the tariff time. But we haven't been underneath since. So I think this one is like a prove it name. We got to get back above, man. I mean, we've been over this since May, and then it just kind of chopped sideways near the top end and fell on earnings. So I don't really love Amazon up here. I've been saying that for a minute. And yeah, I just think there's better spaces to be in, even including a Walmart or something like that for now. Amazon just gonna have to work through its Capex issues and get that all figured out. So for me, Amazon, is not really a great screaming buy down here. But it's definitely a DCA type of thing. You're into a key level that's held, like we held 200. So we only spent, a month underneath there in the last 18 months or so. So I think it's probably worth something down here, but to think it's going to go back to 230, I don't think it has the juice underneath that a year NVIDIA trade did with Amazon. So we'll hold those cards close and see what winds up happening. I think if there's anything out of the big cap names, like Meta would be the one that I think has the chance to really make a move back higher off of its recent bounce. So like I said yesterday, you get that whole quarter now for free, because it came all the way back in and gave us underneath the reported number. And market liked it, so now all of a sudden they don't. So I think that's gonna be good value there, and a tech washout would be Meta more than Amazon for me. So, all right, we should have Luis coming through, I believe, on a Tuesday. So that should be exciting to have him come through and see if there's any small cap names as we talk about Amazon and Spotify and Meta. Another interesting development in the last 6 to 8 months is Joe's morning options segment. So he's ready to go, I believe. Are you ready there, Joe?
Looks ready.
He's ready. Thumbs up over there. All right, over to the side with Joe.
All right, guys, happy Tuesday and welcome back. Let's hop right into the derivative world here, guys. We're going to be taking a look at some of these options contracts. We're going to start things off with NVDA. I mean, we had a nice move right out of the gate, strong open. Before we get into some of these numbers, I want to take a look at the actual contract. Never mind this graphic over here. But here, what we got going on here, guys, is something very, very interesting. And this is our opening drive, right? We go over this time and time again, and we talk about the power of leverage and the power of options, and we're going to do exactly that here this morning. So, right at that 9:30 gate, if you were to have owned this contract at $1.92, if you were fortunate enough, this is best case scenario, but when you've seen the strong opening drive, what we got going on here, it doesn't always work like that. You're most likely going to be an owner before this happens, or getting in on the break as well too. But as quick as you would like, as Sharif would typically say, 226% in a span of 15 minutes, okay? And we all know that NVDA did not move 226% in 15 minutes, but this is where the power of the leverage really comes in. And once again, this is best case scenario, typically hypothetical, but if you own this contract before this date, then the chances are you have the ability to sit through a nice move like that, okay? So moving forward, guys, let's get into the actual contracts metrics here, and we're gonna start things off with the open interest and the volume, 56,500 at that 190 mark with volume around 47,200, okay? And once again, this is going to be expiring this Friday. Now, we talked about what was happening yesterday during the midday show. It's like, hey, we keep running into this 192.5 supply zone. Well, what I started to recognize a little bit after the bell is that we were starting to slowly push below that 190 mark. And I think a lot of it has to do with the supply over at this $190 strike price. Now, the bid and ask on this name is always going to be relatively tight, around $5 or so. The ask sitting around $3.55 and the bid at $3.50. Now, as for your delta, you're sitting around that $51 mark, was slightly in the money around the close, but your gamma exposure, it's around 0.045, not too bad whatsoever. And then you can also see your at the money IV slightly cooling down. If you want to talk about cooling down and implied volatility, well, perfect. We're going to be moving on to our next underlying, and that is going to be silver. Now, after we experienced those consecutive selling sessions when we were down 30% in one of them, we were looking at our implied volatility around 130%, even as high as around 150%. Now, you can see the drastic cooling on this. We're going to start with our implied volatility, our Vega metric, at 87.2%. So you're just going to gain volatility decay as well as theta decay if you were an options writer. So when you see those drastic increases in implied volatility, there's ways that you can take advantage of it instead of getting caught in the opposite side of that, where you get that if you've been writing before you had experienced those massive moves within the underlying. You want to be patient and wait until things come after, all right? Let's get into some more of these metrics, guys. Open interest sitting around 20,300. And if you go $10 higher, around the 85 and 90 strike price, you're going to see an increase on that as well. That is going to be February 20th expiration cycle. Bid in the ask sitting around $20. You're sitting at that 58 delta with your gamma exposure relatively cooling down with your implied volatility. And we'll be back momentarily, guys, with some upgrades and downgrades.
Looking forward to the upgrades and downgrades as always, but yeah, it was a strong day in SLV yesterday in the metals, but kind of like Bitcoin, not really punching through the absolute top and sort of not really giving you that parabolic, I guess, like the crazy feels that we were getting, and just in terms of volatility. And you can see it, like very condensed. Like, yeah, sure, it's up, but really condensed price action, 2, 3, 4% on trends. When we were getting those types of moves for half of the day, like I think the stat was, and I don't know if it still holds true because obviously, I think it was about a week ago or so. And 40% of the days in the year, silver had moved 5% or more, something along those lines. But we haven't seen that for now a couple of days in a row. So you think you temper your expectations a little bit? I still look at this, I still look for that reversion trade, although when the volatility is higher, that had basically on the 5% days, it worked 6 times out of 6, looking for a mean reversion on the 15-minute. And then the 2 days where we have low volatility or lower volatility, it didn't work. So I'm kind of just going to look for whether we see that crazy expansive candle at the open or some kind of not exuberant, but a huge move or something indicating that volatility is going to be back. Or I might sit silver out today and wait for it to start trading the way it was when it seemed like it was going ham almost every single day. But under 5%, it's a bit of a different beast. It's just kind of adjust the strategy. But for the mean reversion, it's just not as good when the stock, when the vehicle isn't really moving the way that it was in the past. So I like those 5% kind of days. If we get back to that, I'd be a little bit more on board.
So I'm actually today the complete opposite. I have silver as the #1 trade idea today. So we're going to be all over SLV, looking for a short. And I don't know if it's going to go, but it's starting to go right now. So we'll, we'll have to wait on it. But silver can be, obviously, as Neil just mentioned, very, very volatile. So we'll be looking a lot on this side of the desk today at silver, already down 3%. So should be another very active day in SLV. All right, back over to the desk. Our guest is upon us very soon.
All right, a couple things here real quick. Datadog just popping up to session highs. DDog reporting this morning. Nice look through 130 right now. Just double checking, the earnings call did start at 8 a.m. I'm not seeing any comments on this currently, but Datadog catching a little bit of a bid here with the earnings call going. So just a heads up on that. Sharif, you and I were just discussing this Google debt raise. So they go to market yesterday, I guess it was, for, what was it, 20 billion or something to that tune in North America. And then today over in the UK and Europe, selling more debt. Some of it 60-year, 100-year debt. And I was reading this morning that the 100-year specifically had a lot of demand.
That's crazy.
And as you were saying, I'm not sure what they were paying on that, but a 100-year debt raise.
That's the only data point I don't have what the coupon is on these longer dated maturities. So 2029, the earliest maturity expiration date for these bond issuances, the latest 2066. And as Brendo mentioned, they're actually considering a debt sterling tranche, potentially including a rare 100-year bond, but there is a lot of demand from investors, as this article highlights. But this marks a major shift, Brendo, from self-financing for the AI Capex, which we've seen these hyperscalers do. And let's be honest about it, they have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so they really haven't needed to go into the debt market. This is a marked change here, especially with the kind of eye-watering number we're looking at. So big tech as a whole in 26 slated to spend $630 billion on AI Capex.
Just this year.
Yeah, just this year, and 185 billion of that was guided by Google. So almost 200 billion out of that 630 gives you an idea of the scale.
When you have endless cash mountains just sitting around, it's easy to get interest in raising more. Let's bring in, as mentioned, Luis Barbado over in Barcelona, Spain this morning to talk a little bit about some small cap action that has been pretty hot once again. Good to see you, Luis, as always, over the past couple of days here. Let's go through the whole rundown here, the whole gauntlet as to what's moving around this morning, what you're looking at, and why.
We don't have a very active morning in small caps, so we have a couple of tickers only, and we are reviewing tickers from day before and probably Friday as well. So it's not a lot of active today in the small caps.
It's a good concept though, and a good reminder to people. I mean, it doesn't always have to be, the first day, the first headline has popped out. We can always go back and look at, what happened the day before, what happened 2 days prior, because sometimes with these specifically, when you get that initial huge move, the second day or the third day, when there's less eyeballs on it, can be the most attractive.
Absolutely, and also if you're looking for short, if you are more a short seller, sometimes the first day and with a lot of volume and potential move because of news, is very tricky to go short. Some of our setups are built on the second or third day when nobody is looking at this stock, the volume is shifting to another tickers, and then when the volume drops on these tickers that we trade day before or 2 days ago, then when the volume drops, the fade starts, and it starts to go down. And I would like to explain one trade we took yesterday. It's in LIMN. Okay, this is what we call the first red day. So why we tried these stocks? After we have a huge move, you can see from 0.50 to almost $250 in few days moving up and up and up. We are waiting, we are expecting for the first red day to build. Okay, so what we can have a weak opening, and right away you start to go down. Or the other scenario is a short squeeze, so we break highs of previous days, and when all the shorts are stop out and squeeze, the movement start to appear, okay? And you go short on the consolidation and waiting for a very, very long move, right? So I can show you a couple of tickers, a couple of traders who trade this stock. You can see they're waiting for the first red day, and once the highs are getting lower and losing the support and losing VWAP, then we start to close the trade. This is one of our traders, and this is the other one, building the position, what we call recycling the position, or rotating the shares around the core position you want to have. You want to go short, but it's not that you go short and wait for the profit or for the gold. You build up the position, you recycle the shares until you get a nice price, and when the VWAP is lost, then we start to take profits, right? So it was a very, very nice setup.
Let's dig into that a little bit, because a lot of people might be hearing that term, Luis, for the very first time. The two things, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but two things we're looking to do here. One is improve the average price, so move the average price actually as high as possible versus that high that's been put in. And the second is utilizing some of the rebates that ECNs provide, even make a little bit of cash if possible.
Absolutely. It's not about averaging down into a losing position, but it's taking into account that you're not going to get the best price always. So you like this, let's say this area, you like to go short in this area. Okay, so it's not that you decide only one entry point, but you divided your shares into an area that you like the short. And while the stock is making noise up and down, you're adding more and taking some profits out of the table, because in case you go, if it goes up again, you can add again more, always while your setup is alive. If your playbook is still alive. If it goes higher and breaking new highs and with volume, you might just stop out the whole of the trade. But while it's in the area that your setup it's still working out, you can add and reduce some position to better your price and pyramid the position once it starts to work out.
All right, let's talk a little bit about today. If we are looking at what was moving around the past couple of days, looking for that opportunity of a breakdown because of maybe less attention being paid to it, which ones are standing out here this morning?
Yeah, we have already traded one stock, which is AFI, AZI. As you can see here, we short this one here against the top. Why? Because when you check the data, 80% of the times that it got up, it closed red. So you are more comfortable going short on the pops. It's true that this trade didn't hold a lot, the short. Look at this. Once it broke the VWAP all the way down, it's already negative almost in the day. So this was one of the best trades we already took pre-market. And also we are waiting for this stock AVP to try to fight the VWAP again. So it's this stock AVP. It has already got up, move a lot. Sorry, now there it goes. So it has already gone up, going down. We're waiting this stock to push a little bit around 270, 280 area to go short and reject this VWAP and keep going down. Keep going down. This is the main two tickers we're looking at.
If you are just going back to the initial concept we were talking about, if we're building a position around a level that we're interested in to be short, what triggers you to start, getting down to a very, very small percentage of that core position?
Well, you have to, of course, technical analysis. That's the first point. Where do you have resistance of previous days or even resistance of the pre-market? And also check when the market opens, if it keeps having a lot of volume or the volume start to disappear. It's very important, the concept of shifting volume. If you see some of other stocks taking attention of the traders and algorithms, and if the volume goes there, your setup is more likely to work out. So previous pre-market highs, previous resistance from other days, and volume, those are the main three tickers to reduce the position or stop out the whole position.
Fantastic, Luis. Great stuff as always. We will touch base again tomorrow with a review. Very, very well received last week. We look forward to it again this week.
Thank you very much, Brandon.
myself included, looking forward to some more conversation with Luis tomorrow afternoon. Guys, make sure you tune in for that. All right, let's take a look at some of these analyst actions here this morning, guys. We're going to kick things off with some downgrades, and we're going to start it off with Monday.com, going from a buy to a hold. A lot of that across the board here. Loop Capital giving them the downgrade, guys. You're down roughly 0.8% here this morning. Now, On Semi also getting the downgrade as well, too, guys, going from a buy to a hold. By benchmark, you're down almost 4% here this morning. Now, Peloton, surprise, surprise, going from a buy to a hold. Once again, down 1.8% here. Now, Under Armour, Now, we're going from a neutral to a sell with a $6.20 price target by Citigroup. That's UAA. You're down 5.5% here this morning. Now, moving forward, guys, let's take a look at some of these upgrades. More positive note, going from a neutral to a buy with a $180 price target here by Daiwa Securities. And then we also have Take-Two Interactive, guys, outperform to a strong buy with a $285 price target. You're up more than 2% here this morning, and that's going to be by Raymond James. Unity Software also getting the nod by Oppenheimer. You're up 3.81% here with a price target of around $38. And then we have Vistra Energy also getting the nod, guys. Jefferies going from a hold to a buy, up 3 1/3 here with a price target of $203, guys.
One of those names on the upgrade list is one we talked about last week. Vistra, not really. Vistra Energy has just been, it's been lollygagging realistically relative to what's been going on in, say, like a GEV. And you'd think that the Capex spend story would have given it a bit of a bigger boost, but it is threatening. A couple of things to like about this. We talked about that upward sloping 200 period. It's still got the nice upward sloping 200 period. It's leveling off, but it's trying to break this little subtle downtrend. And realistically, it's very close. And look, is the upgrade today enough to punch through? That's not always the best catalyst in the world. But once this is closing again above the 50, a little bit of catch up to GEV does make some sense. Now, obviously, I'm biased in that I'm going to like GEV more because I own them. But at the end of the day, both Constellation and Vistra have been counter trend for the last couple of months relative to a leader in the space. And not all things are alike, but I do expect there is a catch-up trade. If this trend continues, the market continues on the path where we get, the dip buy works, then this is a name to keep in mind here once they can get above that 50-period moving average here for Vistra. On that downgrade side, all I can say is, sucks for Peloton, man. Kicking them while they're down.
I have Palantir. I like the upgrade yesterday, up 7 or 8%. Nice to see finally catching a little bit of wind here. So, we're not going to be all negative. The sticky note's going to be out in 2 seconds. I think if this one can fall back into this 143 area for me, especially on an upgrade, up 1.6% today. If the market does wind up falling down, let's look to see if Palantir can get picked up here somewhere. And I'm written down 142. 50 to 143. So, in this general area down here for PLTR, just at yesterday's close, we'll see if we can get some bids, back, support that VWAP down here and get it figured out there today if the market does come back in. I mean, I'll be short, but if the short isn't working like yesterday and we have to flip over to longs, like the biggest position yesterday, period, was the short that I had to begin with. And they were able to get out of it because it didn't work and then flipped over and wound up having a great day looking for some longs. So, we'll see if Palantir wants to work out down here around 142.50. So that's the upgrade for me that I like on that little list there. So PLTR off of a big day yesterday. We'll see if it can continue today. Thank you to Luis for coming through. It's 8:38. We'll go back to the desk.
Market just coming back in a little bit here. We had some numbers come through there when Luis was on. Retail sales specifically coming in lower than expected. So the month-over-month number for December here, flat versus a 0.4% uptick that was expected. Export-import prices as well, 0.3% to the upside on exports versus 0.1 expected, 0.1 to the upside on imports versus 0.3 that was expected there. So that was really the main numbers there. The year-over-year retail sales number, 2.4% versus 2.9. Some cracks under the hood, maybe, but we'll see. It's worth noting as well, Navarro just making some comments right now saying Not expecting weak jobs number coming up tomorrow. Remember, we get non-farm payrolls tomorrow after the delay from last Friday. But also saying, quote unquote, we need to revise expectations on these monthly job numbers going forward. So maybe setting the table here for something.
And like this is building more into the narrative that we've been talking about, this low hire, low fire, current state of the job market right now. I don't know, I feel like this is building a little bit of pressure on the Fed in order to cut. This is one of the parts of the mandate here that I think the variable is a little bit in flux. We've seen inflation. I don't want to say it's at their target. It's not at 2%, but it's under control. We're seeing that, especially with the growth in the GDP. You're not seeing the corresponding move in inflation, but the job market is where it's a little bit dicey. And we're seeing more corporate layoffs. Like we have CRM here on the morning, Brendo. They're laying more people off, and we've been seeing this sort of tech. I don't want to call it a tech wreck, but the layoffs have been coming from tech. Amazon as well with the 16,000 last week. So tough.
I feel almost as if, and I have no data or proof to back this up, but I feel almost as if they're going out of their way to make these layoffs in a way that doesn't sound like AI is just taking these jobs immediately.
Exactly.
And they're just downsizing for the sake of cutting costs. But and maybe that's true.
A lot of people are saying that exactly the same thing you're saying. They're saying, in public, CEOs are saying one thing because, the PR and, obviously you have to watch what you say. In private, though, they're saying something completely different, and it's the leaks coming out of those private meetings that are keeping the market worried. Yeah.
Coming up at 10 o'clock, a couple of numbers to deal with this morning as well. Business inventories for November and retail inventories ex autos coming at 10 a.m. this morning. But again, we'll get non-farm payrolls tomorrow morning, and then CPI, I believe it's Friday. Friday at 8:30. It was interesting. I was listening to I think it was the analyst, an equities analyst or an economist maybe, on Bloomberg this morning from Cantor Fitzgerald, trying to make the argument that with the switch to Warsh at the Fed, we're not going to get 2, we're going to get 3 cuts before the end of this year, and that he sees the long end of the curve, the 10-year, even the 30s coming back into a 3 handle of some sort by the end of 2026.
I just want to see which version of Kevin Warsh we're going to get. Brendo. Was it the hawk that was on the FOMC during the great financial crisis, who pounded the table about lowering the debt balance, the Fed's balance sheet, and keeping rates elevated, more hawkish tones, or is it going to be the person that President Trump handpicked to cut rates? And he was asked. President Trump was asked point blank, I think, by an NBC reporter. Do you think that Kevin Warsh knows you want to cut rates? And he just came out with it. Of course, I've been pounding the table. I've been saying it on every network. Anybody who will listen, I tell them to drop rates. So a little on this hand, a little on that hand. We're going to see. We're not going to wait that long to find out.
I feel like we get a very dovish Kevin Warsh when we do get it. What is that, May? We'll get that switch. Yeah, I mean that's that's also betting on the fact that all goes well with him getting approved and all the T's getting crossed, which I'm sure they will between now and then. Market holding here on aftermarket lows, guys, and support from yesterday.
Yeah, we're just basically almost exactly flat here on the ES and the Nasdaq, just very, very slightly down after a slight bounce. But when you work out the odds, I know we've been looking at the rate tool for the odds of a cut and sort of been focused on the middle of the year. But if you do go all the way out to December, like you are going to find, like at that point, like the chance that we're only a quarter point or nothing is at about 24% when you add that up. So, at that point, we're looking at for sure, the market says 75%, just a little bit more than that you're going to get 2 cuts, and then over 40% that we would get 3. So that has been inching in the other direction. The betting markets do support the thesis that it doesn't really matter what Warsh was before. What we're expecting is a little bit better opportunity for more than 2 cuts this year. And you sort of see this reflected in some of the strength that you've had, relatively speaking, in the Russell, which has been performing pretty well. Like the IWM made a nice little high, although much like I just said with the Nasdaq and the ES, it's like exactly flat as well here. But it's got the whole rounded bottom that a lot of the stocks that we were looking at in the last couple of days seem to have as well, and could be pushing back into some highs. Like it's pretty darn close to it, maybe a day or 2 away if you look at sort of average moves here for some of the small cappers. And the IWM's been performing incredibly well, and I think that does bodes well that the market is unfazed by the person that Warsh was in terms of his view on policy prior. Because if you really think that, okay, that's who he is and he's not going to care, I can't see the rate tool being where it is. I can't see the Russell being where it is either. But the market's telling you the story that we're expecting to get these cuts and money printer stays alive.
Yeah, look, I'm excited to continue to trade these markets. I mean, we made all-time highs yesterday in the diamonds. The S&P 500 is going to have, it seems like it's having a problem with 7,000 and Nasdaq down here to 25,000. Nasdaq's the one that's down right now about 1.5–2%, depending on what we do today, of course, from its all-time highs. But this is what the Dow is doing. And we've talked about emerging markets and how strong many of these other markets have been. Yeah, the Dow's working despite UNH, and you know, another thing we could look at here too is if we go over to the get over here, Bitcoin, my Bitcoin chart right here. Forget about Bitcoin right now. I think that thing is cooked for a minute. DXY, you know, that's been a story as well, right? I mean, today you get a little bit of a falling dollar coming back in, looking to see if we can break through this 97 marker. But this has also been a little bit of a story that we have to look at, and when we're talking about the Fed, you know, should be looking at this dollar weakness here. And, you know, like we said, dollar weakness has its pushes and pulls for some of the domestic companies versus some of the multinational companies. And, you know, you're getting low again. Like, if you can start to break, like we had a nice little rally there last week to end the week, and then the last couple of days has been a nice little downside push here. So I'm a little nervous to see if we can break through this 96 area. And I'm not sure, like, what kind of confidence that's going to give to the Fed to, and, you know, are they looking at data? Yeah, they're supposed to be. We'll have to see. We have a big jobs number coming out this week as well. Nothing else coming today. But if we don't hold this 96, then I do fear that there could be, I think that should spark an interest rate cut. But again, you know, the more this monetary system keeps falling apart and people don't trust it, you know, the more this US dollar is going to go down. We saw a nice move in USD yen as well on some of that political news over there in Japan, not helping out this US dollar at all. And, you know, like I said, we saw that over the weekend here. So there's a couple days of downside action for the DXY. So just, you know, looking at what the dollar's doing here and how that's going to possibly affect the market doesn't hurt getting lower, but it's a confidence thing. So let's, you know, the U.S. GDP is still, you know, blasting off. They gave it an upside guide most recently over that 4% marker. So yeah, just watching out for the US dollar there. That could be part of the silver trade today. And, you know, you want to look at it, if you're going to be trading it with silver, you want to look at like a minute chart or something like that just to see the reaction that we've generally had. When the US dollar goes down, we've seen silver go back there to the upside. So again, like a weaker dollar, if you're making sales, like I was saying, in Japan or wherever you're making sales, and you're an Apple or you're a Google or whatever, and you get to see, you know, your money being repatriated AAPL back here in US dollars, it's going to accrue higher to your income statement, because all of a sudden, you know, the 1,000 euros that you sold your phone for is now worth 1,200 US or whatever, right? And then tomorrow it's worth 1,300 US. So you're bringing back more money. So that, you know, you've seen names like Apple and some of these other names continue to make, you know, new moves higher, including a Spotify. They're a European-based company as well, right? So we'll have to wait to see what happens here. If the US dollar continues to get a little lower, I think it does help a lot of these companies out, but not great for, you know, the exporting side of things here when we're looking as a whole. So yeah, some things to consider when we're looking at that. And we don't look enough at the TLTs at 20 years or anything like that. So I'm not too comfortable, you know, analyzing that against what the market's been doing. 69.1 right here, IBIT and Bitcoin. I had, so my sticky notes out, I have IBIT written down as a short just because I'm sort of biased short to the market. But we are right now, just took out VWAP. So maybe again, I don't think it's going to be a punch short immediately off open. We still have 50 minutes before the bell even rings here. So, like, you know, 50 minutes ago we were up here, then a half hour ago we were down here, and now we're in the middle. So let's not get too excited about where this market's going to open up. But right now, you're floating back over zeros. So that's nice to see for all the bulls. And there's not too many single stock stories on the big side of things. There's lots. There's Datadog. There's lots of Oscar. There are lots of individual stories today from that side of things, but nothing like hugely needle moving on the NVIDIA front or on any of these big market cap fronts. So, you know, might be a minute to see this market today and see what kind of movement we wind up having, which is why I want to focus. And that's why when you look on here, it's SLV, it's IBIT, it's Palantir, and it's the market. So it's like 4 things that have been moving around. And so that's why we want to look at spots that actually have reasons to move and possibly downside action today in many of those names, except for Palantir for me. So yeah, there's a bunch of different things happening right now. We see in the chat there CRDO, CCCX or something like that is moving around.
PHIOs making
Charlie.
There are some good small caps today. I know.
Oh, Churchill Capital. I remember that one.
Said that maybe there wasn't a lot that was spiking on the radar, but no, PHIO is making some power moves in here. You also had, what was that? NM, Hoth was moving. No, it's EVMN. That's what it is. It's Evomune is also another small capper that's going absolutely ham. This one up over 100%. So you have one of these over 100%. I think it's like a 25 mil float or something like this. So a pretty small float for EVMN is going to be a driver of it. That does put this in like the high probability or the higher probability of a halt. Anytime you're dealing with a small float, wide spread at times here. Like you just saw, like they just pulled the stock up and went 36 to 33. So it's going to move that 10%. No problem, and especially off the open. I'm not saying you can even don't trade. Just do not be surprised if this one halts a few times here today. It'll be a little different. Like PHIO, I think when you're like a $1.30 stock, look how steady it is. It is up 50%, so it is volatile as well, but probably not as likely to have trading halts. And remember, sometimes a good look is something trending and holding the volume weighted average price a little bit better off of that open. You want to make sure that the buyers don't just dump it right away at 9:30. So good upward trend in both those. I see a lot of people in the chat talking about the small cappers as well. Plenty out there. I think that's why it was good to have Luis on. Now Sharif will be covering a few of those before we get to the bell.
Another one making a move back to the upside here right now. CVS back above 75 bucks. Just double checking. 8 a.m. was the earnings call on this one as well. Didn't see any comments, but a little more positive here for CVS. You were making a good point on how this thing has been doing over the past little while. I mean, another one that's kind of flown under the radar.
Brendo, this thing is up, I think, 40% over the past year. Not one that I pegged for a turnaround story like this, but they're quite profitable, guys. Let's talk a little bit about this. They brought home a little bit less than $3 billion in profit on the quarter. Recall, this company had been bleeding cash and bleeding profitability as it looked to restructure. Adjusted EPS 109, beating the 99 expected by the street, and a big headline revenue number, about 106 billion, a little bit less of revenue on the quarter. That easily beats a 103.5 expected by the street, and they confirmed full year profit guidance. They're guiding, Brendo, $7 to $7.20 per share. They're maintaining their 2026 outlook of at least $400 billion in total revenue for the year. Their insurance business continues to improve, that Atena or whatever. Pharmacy and consumer wellness prescriptions are up about 12.5%. And remember that Rite Aid acquisition that they had? Yep. It was like another pharmacy that they acquired. Well, their prescription count increased markedly as a result of that acquisition. They were criticized at the time for kind of taking on too much debt, but looking good now.
One that's not, definitely, this morning. HOG, Harley Davidson, downside in a big way right now. Got to zoom way out. This is 2020, pandemic lows coming into play here for Harley Davidson on an earnings miss here. Not much good, it looks like, as far as what I can see as the numbers go. I mean, this thing's just been in a downward spiral going back to the beginning of 2025.
Your guidance missed, Brendo. It was the guide really that sent this one down. They reported per share loss of $2.44 only from sales of less than $500 million, guys, $496 million. The street was looking for a lot more than that. They were looking for a loss per share of 107 on revenue of $485 million. Per share loss of 93 pennies from a year ago as well. So, and that top line number was $688 million. Now it's below $500 million. So you kind of feel maybe the consumer's being a little bit selective about where they're spending their money. Certainly not on motorcycles at the moment.
Clearly, not a good look for HOG. Coinbase Just seeing JP Morgan cutting their price target here to 290 from 399. So still, I mean, 290 is way up here on the daily chart. So 399 is basically highs. Coin guys sitting at this very, very interesting level here right now, or just above this very interesting level on a daily chart.
Well, we get Robinhood first tonight, but we do get Coinbase. We do get Coinbase this week. They're reporting on Thursday. So look, it doesn't look good. This lost the IPO, so I'm only using the monthly chart so you can see like the IPO support. The initial IPO support was right in around here, like the 220 level. And while that's been, it's already gone. It's always a bad sign when you get under that kind of a support. It didn't do the IPO breakout trade. It was the opposite of Robinhood in that like Robinhood, the IPO highs, it was able to do the U shape and then break it out. Coinbase, literal opposite, goes into those highs and plunges. All it's got left is see all these wicks of support down at 150. You got bodies of candles in the monthly at 170, and you've got wicks of one down into the 140, 150 range. So on coin, this is kind of like put up or shut up area that needs to hold. You know, so there's a few things that have to happen here. Now clearly they're trying to make at least an effort and a decent effort to try to offer more so that you can compete with the Robinhoods that'll get you and keep you because they'll give you prediction markets, they're going to give you investing. Again, it's just they're going to give you crypto. They're going to try to do a little bit of everything. It's a little bit late, relatively speaking, and then you throw in the fact that there's so much weakness in crypto. There's a lot working against them in this moment, but it is a pretty significant level down here. Now, of course, on a monthly chart, we're literally the 1/3 of the way through the month. If it were to wick underneath and still close above 140, I think that's a good little dip spot. But none of that's going to matter if Bitcoin finds its way to 50K, I don't think. Like this would all be under the premise that we kind of hold around here on BTC and stabilize above this 60,000 area. If that can't even happen, then all bets are off for Coinbase. But Thursday is going to be a big one. The good thing is we're going to have some information out of Robinhood to be able to compare with after the bell tonight, and then everyone will look to the weaker name, quite frankly, because I don't think there's many people that prefer Coinbase to Robinhood. I say that as I literally use Coinbase, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, Coinbase is just kind of like a proxy to see what this Bitcoin market actually winds up doing. I mean, it's not horribly valued. I mean, the last time I was checking, it's really been, it's really come back in here on Coinbase. I mean, some of those highs that Brendan was mentioning there, $400 or $500. Yeah, here's the PE, $14. Go find me, 14, sorry. Go find me another name that's active the way Coinbase is with just a 14 PE. So at some point, they're going to have to get some respect back into this name. And I think it's just a matter of believing in what BTC and what this whole crypto market's going to do. Because if a lot of traders lose faith in Bitcoin and in, the possibility of this thing going back up to the upside, then yeah, traders will run away from Coinbase because they're a volume business, right? I mean, if they have traders trading over there on the exchanges, then that's all good. Obviously, there's the Clarity Act as well that I need to get some more clarity myself on that act and see what that means. But Coinbase had basically 20 straight down days here and just now getting a bounce. So yeah, it's definitely hit a lot more than the top of Bitcoin. Like if you'd say the top of Bitcoin, which is 128, I believe, this 419, so 128 where Bitcoin's now chopped in half, so this is much more than half. I mean, we should be around here at 220 or so if it was exactly following that, but it's just the whole crypto space doesn't have very much legitimacy to it now anymore. We talked about that yesterday, that there was a individual that could not find a base case for investable idea with BTC. Why would you invest in it? And until that changes, that mentality, and that whole get-rich-quick scheme comes back, then I think Coinbase loses on the volume, right? And I think that's what's been happening with Robinhood. It's just a simple move of there's a lot of traders right now that aren't buying the dip, and there's a lot of traders that have been getting hurt from buying the dip because it just kept on dipping. So at some point, the market should get back. I don't think crypto is a dead duck or anything like that. But I think the volatility has been squeezed out a little bit. And without volatility, names like Robinhood, SoFi, Webull, all these names, and Coinbase included, continue to get hit, right? I mean, we saw Circle give back its whole IPO. And get even lower on Circle. So we'll have to wait to see if that one winds up basing out as well. Gemini is another name, you know, that's been BLSH, bullish as well. I mean, there's been some bad situations here, right? This is Gemini. Shout out to the Winklevoss brothers. Glad that you guys were able to also rug pull, you know, the equity markets as well. That's cool. BLSH. They're bullish. I haven't even looked at this in forever, so let's have a quick look to see. They had a good quarter, though, one of their quarters, I remember. And there might have been this little bump up here. Maybe, no, they won't report that soon, but this is the IPO for bullish as well. So you can see that's chopped in half from that IPO price. And it just, things are just getting bad in this space, and there's just a very, very loss of, in my opinion, in confidence, you know, of these markets. When you're, I mean, here's another one. Here's bull, right? Webull, straight down. This is down about a third from its highs, down from its highs. I mean, forget about that. I was only looking right here. That's $18. Now you're down to $6, let alone this move that happened. But if that was the IPO, which I'm not sure it was, down there at 15, I don't think so. We must have IPO'd right here at $33 or $34, made a move up to 61 or 62 that day when it was obviously going insane, and then the move just right back down in and hasn't been able to catch a bid since. So there's just a big problem here with all this crypto stuff. You know, it's going to have to figure itself out. I mean, even SoFi is down 35% or 40% from its highs of $32 as well, and that's pretty much a straight line downside. So it's not, it's getting bad, and we'll have to wait to see if there is any sort of smoke to be cleared. And if there is, it's Coinbase that I think you want to run to if you do have some sort of confidence in this whole system not falling apart completely. So yeah, we'll watch out for Coinbase down 2% here.
All right, guys, let's have a look at this SPY. Where do we close out at yesterday? Well, we're at 694.5 now. We keep rejecting that 695 area that we've been talking about as a technical resistance level, with the ultimate high there, 698. So look, we're negative on the morning right now, but not by all that much. We're going to continue to use that 695, 696 area as our first level of resistance. If we start selling off, we're looking at 690 yesterday. We defended it quite well as our first support level.
All right, lots to get to this morning, 30 minutes until the open. If you haven't done so yet, grab the absolutely free watch list. We send it out to you every single day, right to your email. All you need is an email address down below in the description of this video. Top link will get you to the sign up page for that. Palantir trying to bounce right now a little bit, but overall still in a downtrend here on the daily chart. I don't know. If you, I guess, squint really hard, you can see something that looks like a Head and Shoulders on that. That's a stretch to me. I don't know. Michael Burry thinks so, though.
I love it. I love it. He's, you know, he's not just a fundamental analyst. He doesn't call the top of the mortgage, you know, bubble, Brendo, but now he's a chartered market technician. You gotta love this. No, in all seriousness, no, he did highlight what he believes to be a classic Head and Shoulders reversal pattern on the chart on Palantir. He frames it as a high confidence bear structure rather than, you know, noise-driven volatility. And his chart, his assessment is he's pointing to a neckline around $80 with the ultimate landing area, if you use the measured move, of course, being 60. So if you're going to use that $60 area as your target, then you're implying about a 58% downside from where we closed out yesterday. So that's his view there. It's not new though. This view is not new. I believe in November last year, he stated that he bought about 50,000 puts for $1.84 million against Palantir, and that kind of reflects his current convictions. So perhaps maybe a better setup. He previously grouped a lot of these high multiple tech names, Brendo, and he called them the frauds of the modern era. Tell me how you really feel, right? But to be fair to him, Palantir is down about 20% year to date.
Sorry, he said the neckline is $80?
He says the neckline's $80 and that the measured move from a neckline breakdown would be around 60, which
I'm
again,
so confused. $80 is here. Like, sorry, what? Like, to me, like, maybe like left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and then somewhere in here maybe there's a neckline. I don't know, guys.
I'm with you. I'm not a chart market technician, but I mean, I can, like, it's such an easy visual pattern to look at. So it is what it is. It's like you said, it's head, shoulder. I mean, it's weird because I look at that as like $60. It's hard to make the argument technically, but ultimately it doesn't really matter. Like, it's like, who cares? He likes to short. It has been working. No questions asked. I do think there is a potential resistance spot that we have to think about on that pattern, which would be this support. Like if there's a shoulder support here at 155, support there. As we come back in underneath the 200, I think you run into some resistance from 155 to 160, but we're at $145. So, I mean, like yesterday it did step one, breaking out this 140. It wasn't able to break the 146 in the afternoon. It actually ended up being a scalp short into VWAP at the end of the day, as you guys saw. That said, you still have a chance to fill this next part of the gap, which is to break through and get at least into what we were just showing on the chart, the 155 to 160 resistance area. So for me, as long as it's holding prior day close, that's in play. So that's the 143 where it dipped into at the close yesterday. And as long as that's the case, then the breakout's in play, the dip to 143. If we lose that support underneath 142.5, I would think all bets are off, at least for the day trade. So, I mean, obviously you can look at the PE and say it's still expensive, and kind of all pullbacks, it's hard to pick out exactly how far it's going to go. Here, I just want to see 143 hold off that open in the 15-minute, and then we've got a breakout play on Palantir. That's just the day trade. It doesn't really affect Michael Burry at all unless it goes completely ham.
Okay, so I put Palantir here on, and look, man, if you guys follow chart patterns, you'll just follow them to your grave. So Palantir here, 142.50 to 143 long. I mean, these are just day trades. I've gotten lighter on Palantir up near that 200 marker. We sort of did talk about that a little bit, but 142.50 to 143. We did have a huge day yesterday. Let's just see if that support winds up holding it. I mean, it is nice to get sort of the downside talk. Will give us a better opportunity to potentially get long. Palantir is going to be a long-term winner, obviously, but it's been getting hit on. We're nervous about software and all that kind of stuff, but if you can come into yesterday's closing prices, I think that's worth a long for me, and that's what I'm here to do as day trade, right? I mean, we've talked about investing and giving some ideas that we have in our longer term portfolios. So Palantir will still remain a core piece for me in the long term, but at the end of the day, this 142 to 143 area is something that we've talked about earlier, and it's something that I'm going to sit here and see if we can't buy any dips today and before it breaks. And if it breaks, then we can get out. I mean, it was just a level that was made yesterday around 11 o'clock, and then supported, not really at the end to get off this ellipse. Not really at the end of the day, we didn't really have an opportunity to support it. I mean, that was right at 4 o'clock, so it just came right in there, bounced a little bit in the after hours, and then today upside on this negative talk. So we'll if it's up on this kind of a headline, then anything lower I think is a good price. So we'll wait to see if we can get a 143 there for Palantir. One of 4 ideas on the note today, so we'll be looking at it.
Sharif, they're magic. Amazon, there's a couple of big tech related headlines this morning. We'll just run through a couple of them here. Amazon, interesting story. They're talking about the possibility of an AWS supported marketplace for content creators. Essentially, you can make a piece of content, video, I guess imagery, audio maybe, put it on the marketplace, and then people would have the ability to, I guess, either bid on it or just pay you whatever you ask for it, which is not something that's been done before. I think they might get a lot of interest in that.
Yeah, I want to know, are they going to do an Apple and take a little bit off the top?
Oh, for sure.
Right?
100%.
Yeah. Got to wet their beak, Bendo. Google as well in the headlines today with an outsized bond offering, $20 billion that is, to accelerate artificial intelligence and infrastructure spending. So the issuance are quite wide, maturing starting in 2029 and extending all the way out to 2066. And there are reports that they're actually considering a debt sterling tranche, and that one could have about a 100-year duration. And believe it or not, there is demand for that. This highlights, though, a strategic pivot by big tech away from self-funded Capex now towards more leveraging of cheap credit. The concerns, though, that AI spending is scaling much faster than near-term payoffs. But as we saw in Google's case, with Google Cloud growing at over 40%, they're obviously able to monetize this near-term AI Capex, maybe better than some others, like we've been pointing at Meta, which may have a bit of a longer runway. And Alphabet alone, Brendo, is going to spend about $185 billion and 185 billion of the 630 expected by the big tech players.
Astronomical. Apple, on the other hand, not much as far as news catalyst today. Apple's been super strong over the past couple of weeks here. First real negative day yesterday. We'll see if we get any kind of follow through today. I mean, we're still trying to hold on to some key support levels, guys, for Apple.
Yeah, Apple was sort of caught in the wash yesterday with all the strengths elsewhere. The fact that it had been sort of that rotationary type play, like holding out very well at the end of last week. Well, when the chips started going ham and NVIDIA caught a buy, well, Apple caught a little bit of a sell. But it's still fine. They're holding on to support. I think for me in big tech today, it is NVIDIA. It was a huge volume off of the open. Then it just didn't really do that much for most of the rest of the day. Like, it was just two monster volume bars that accounted for like a $10 move up in NVIDIA, and then just sideways. Once it got past the 190, there wasn't a heck of a lot to work off of. There is the TSM. There is TSM, which had strong sales for the month, and that's always going to bode well for NVIDIA here, obviously. The one thing to note, and we don't really talk too much about this on TSM, there's a lot going on with this whole for TSM, make sure you build here in the U.S., or not here in the U.S., but in the U.S. We're here in Canada. Build in the U.S. They have like a standard policy about making sure that any of their top line production, like all the most advanced chips that they fabricate, are done in Taiwan. And there's a limit to pushing that elsewhere. And part of that is because, well, if the most advanced chips aren't made in Taiwan, then that makes them a little bit more vulnerable to China. Because the implication would be, if most advanced chips that get made for their clients, especially like the U.S. clients, are in Taiwan, then the U.S. has a vested interest in making sure that doesn't come under Chinese control. So I don't know how much that's going to change. It's the kind of thing that bodes well a little bit for Intel, I do think, in the longer run. But as far as NVIDIA goes specifically, it's going to be the 190 level today. The last time we were up here, we were able to hold it held 2 out of the 3 days. There was no breakout through 94. If we hold 190 on the 15-minute, then I want longs off support there. If the first thing we do is break it down, I even said in the note, it's got to be a reversible level. We've had so much trouble getting through it that even though it looks strong going in, clean bounce, just a bigger bounce and a wick bottom off the 200-period moving average this time to test this price area. It does look stronger coming in this time, but if we lose it right away at 190, I'm not one to sit there fighting the longs on NVIDIA if we can't hold on to that key support level. It's just not worth it.
Look, I have the TQs written down here as a short, and we're getting into that area right now. I mean, it's had a nice move back to the upside now, and I want to wait to see if the short is going to play. Obviously, it's up 0.4. It's a 3x to the Nasdaq, so that'll settle out once the Nasdaq and the market actually opens up here. But it's been a straight shot to the north side here on the TQQs, and the reason why we were looking at that is, of course, when we write it down, we're in this area. I was looking at the 50-period moving average. We are over. I mean, if we can get into 51, then I think that might be a long. But for now, there's 52.20. So I was thinking, not pretty negative, but was more bearish today than bullish. But yeah, this 52 has come and gone a couple times here. So I don't know if I can zoom out, but there it is right there, this 52.20 area. So let's just see if it winds up holding. And yesterday we made the mistake of going short and then not, like we went short into here, same kind of thing. Thought that this might have been the high, and we did have a good drop early, and then it blasted higher once we broke through there. So I'm just wondering that if we don't get that low, break lower there, then what about this take of 52.30 breaking through the highs from yesterday afternoon? So that would be something there to definitely have a look at if we can get going here on the Nasdaq. So I'm temporarily looking short, but the chart doesn't necessarily look like that anymore. So we'll hold out on that. It probably won't be a huge trade right off the jump here on the Nasdaq, but looking at a 52 short, and that's right where we are right now. I mean, minus big tech headlines. I mean, we don't really have too many. We just kind of looked at those, and other than that Google debt raise, which kind of could be a negative thing, Apple with a big move yesterday, Microsoft trying to make a move higher, Meta kind of trying to go lower, which doesn't make any sense. So I feel like just a mixed bag right now. Amazon going lower, Google we mentioned, and then Tesla would be the other name that I was looking for there. It's still at that 420 area, and again, pretty flattish here this morning. So the market's going to give us a move. Might not be as dramatic as I would hope for. So that's why I'm going to be looking at, silver more than the Nasdaq. But yeah, for now, maybe just sleeping giants here in the TQQ, and let's let it see if that 52.25 area has a hold, sort of part to it. And if it does, maybe it takes out the highs, and we can hit it short, but ear to the ground on any kind of news. No real earnings or anything this morning. We had Coke. We had tonight. We mentioned a Robinhood, which is not going to be a big market mover. So ear to the ground on the Nasdaq for any headlines out of nowhere here. No major numbers either. I think 10 o'clock there's something small, isn't there?
Yeah, we had a couple things at 8:30 that weren't that big, and then 10 o'clock we've got, what is it again?
It's business inventory.
Yeah, business inventory. So it's not like a...
And then a little bit of Fed talk,
yeah,
nothing.
Another huge one. And then, Fed talk, but it's not huge. I mean, Hammock and Logan at 1, and then 2 o'clock is... Or no, 12 and then 1, not 1 and 2 o'clock. 12 and then 1 o'clock. So there is reason to keep the ear to the ground, no questions asked. We did have some earnings to get to, and 3 of them are next. And we'll find a way to lump Oscar in there. Hey, they reported as well. Why not?
Yeah, nice look here for Spotify. We double topped, however, at 475, coming back in once again. The forecast beating expectations a little bit to the upside as far as all of the numbers, except for subscriber growth, even though that number specifically was still pretty impressive.
It is. They're close to $1 billion now. I mean, they're not quite there yet, obviously, but working their way. So they beat expectations for both premium subs and total users. They added about 9 million premium subs versus the 8 expected by analysts. Now bringing about 290 million paid subscribers. That is updated as of Q4 of last year. That is up 10% though, year over year. Monthly active users, those are still monetizable, right? Because they see ads. 751 million, that tops the 745 expected by the street. Now here's how they did money-wise. $5.16 per share for earnings on revenue of $5.27 billion. That is well above the expectations, Brendo. Look at this. EPS expectations, $3.23. They print $5.16. That's a marked change year over year and better than a year ago period. Obviously, this quarter, the company says, reinforced the improving operating leverage and the stronger execution they've been focusing on, and the guide even better, forecasting $5.36 billion ahead of the 5. That's below the 5.41, but it is up from the 4.77, and they want to add about 3 more million premium subscribers in this quarter to bringing their total monthly active users by the end of Q1 to about 760 million.
And the cost issue, I think, finally coming under control.
Yes.
Profitability, the key there. So Spotify, guys, it's been in a downtrend here, but holding on to some key levels today.
Definitely a downtrend. Before we get to Spot, just wanted to give an update. If you're seeing Netflix move around a little bit here, Paramount Skydance, they didn't up their bid. They sweetened their bid, but it's still $30 in cash. They just added a 25-cent ticking fee and then gave an update on why they believe they're going to be able to close the deal. So it's not a huge mover. It's still $30 their offer, and it doesn't seem like it'll be the kind of thing that will get the board to move. That would just be a guess here for Warner Brothers, but the reaction in Netflix was actually to bump higher, I suppose. Like, if it wasn't going to go down and they weren't going to have to spend anything to get them. Sometimes you would expect a bigger move in WBD, but it's not. Yeah, exactly. It's right back underneath the original deal price for Netflix. It's not even reacting like this is that much of a possibility here. For Warner Brothers. Again, they sweeten it, but it's still $30 cash. I heard that. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's going to go. I flipped over. I'm like, why isn't this running? I'm like, oh, because it's still $30 in cash. Spotify's downward trend is unabated for now. This is a pass for me on the trade because of the volume and how light the volume is, and just the experience of when you try to trade something like this in the first 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. If it can hold on to the 440 area, I think that's obviously a key spot of support that it held on to in the middle of last week, and then held and then flushed. So that would be that litmus test for me on spot, but give it 2 or 3 days. It's been in a distinct downward trend. They have a lot of competition that I think gives so many choices, and their competition is, like, at the end of the day, like, if you're competing with Google, you don't want to be competing with them, I don't think, at the end of the day. So I'm not a huge fan of the stock. I don't love it for the trade. Actually, for earnings, I'm going to look at Oscar. We talked about this bouncing off the support level. Might have missed the top and bottom, but I had a monster guide. Check out, if you look at the guidance here for Oscar, it was like a 70% beat or something on the guide, which is pretty insane. Now, it wasn't a perfect report, but they have a bit of a shortfall, and again, off of a support level as well. The rounded bottom's in play. All you got to do is hold on to the prior high. It's 1266. I rounded it to say the 13 areas where I'm going to look for a bit of a bounce play. It's a bit spready now, so I want to wait for this one to open up. But as long as it holds the prior day close, that's usually the jam. A little bit of selling going in here. That's the thing with the morning reports, right? You get the earnings call going on, it's going to start flying around here. But I'd much rather look at Oscar than Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify, never really gets traded on here, but Spotify has been going straight to the downside. I mean, it's been a pretty disaster opportunity for them over the last 6 months. I mean, I don't really understand. They're getting more subscribers. Their product is very, very solid. I'm guessing that it's just sort of like now Netflix has all the podcasts on Netflix now, most of them. So you could get home and watch like all the podcasts now in 4K or whatever that Netflix offers, right? I was noticing yesterday they were just like giving basically almost all, I don't know if Rogan was there, but almost all the podcasts seem to have been there. All the ESPN, financial, everything available now on Netflix. And I just think that with the move into YouTube Premium and the move just for the competition starting to pick up again, yeah, Spotify needs to get reweighted. And it looks like it has. But, when do you go long? This is the thing. Like, you've broken the 50-period moving average rate there. So prudent investor might have waited until, this 650 area to break. But once it did, then it's just been downside, and there's not much protection here for it. You could continue to fall. We've already sort of filled up that little gap, whatever that was there. So back down to levels of 2024 now, November of 24. So it definitely lost a lot of time just sitting in this name. And this just goes to, if you're going to hold something long term, keep double checking on your portfolio to make sure that you don't have something that at once was a winner and has now sort of lost its way. And I think that that's the one thing that you need to do in your portfolio at all times is sort of see, is there still the catalyst for me to go long or to go short? What is the reason to be in this thing? And I think Spotify, just with the competition, lost its way a little bit. And it's nothing that they're doing wrong. It's just this is what happens when margins are so huge and there's only a few players in the game. It does tend to get a little saturated, right? I mean, there's been Jay-Z had one. I don't know what they're, a title or something. So there's been lots of different streaming services that have come and gone. And then there are still some people, shout out to Adara, that go on iTunes and buy actual albums. Well, yeah, she can explain. I can't explain why.
Keeping the dream alive.
Yeah, she can explain why.
The same reason I have a bunch of like DVDs in the basement that are just collecting dust that I've never done anything with. Just put them in a museum one day. No, yeah. But to your point, I find it's a good question to ask sometimes in your portfolio. If I didn't have a position, what would I be doing with this? And if the answer is I wouldn't buy it here, well, I for sure wouldn't buy it. And if it went 20% and I still wouldn't buy it, then why am I holding it? Even if you're holding it from like 10 years ago and it's in the money, you're like, whatever, I bought it, it's still in the money. Look how great it's been doing for me. But if you wouldn't buy it there and you wouldn't buy it 20% down from there, then why do you still have it? There's just no need to. I think it's a good question to ask. A good question to ask is what's causing the bounce in Coke? Because it's trying to get back to the upside.
Just reading a good comment there from, I think it was Rusty Dutch. They are by far the worst for artist monetization. From the monetization aspect, they pay by far the less, which is true. Spotify, that is. Coke, yeah, back to the upside here to 77 right now. We did have some comments earlier, but the call was 8 o'clock, so long gone by now. Still struggling here. They actually missed on revenue here for Coke.
Yeah, it's a mixed report, Brendo. They shored up costs and their profitability got better, but the top line number did miss. 58 pennies, earnings per share ahead of the 56 expected by analysts. Revenue did come in light, 11.82 billion. The street wanted 12.03, but the net income. They're bringing more than $2.25 billion home on profit, and that's up from the 2.25 they brought home last year. So an interesting development there. Investors, however, focused on the revenue miss and the cautious near-term outlook. The reaction kind of suggests here that expectations were elevated following the recent defensive sector strength. Let's talk about how they did in their different segments. Unit case volume up 1% year over year. North American sales volume also up 1%. Latin America leading the way, up 2% year over year. Like Pepsi, Coke does continue to contend with budget-conscious consumers who are trading down or not buying at all. And net sales grew about 2%. Organic revenue healthier at 5%. But as we were talking about at the start of the show, they are consolidating some of their segments, especially the sugary drinks.
As they should. 77, if you zoom out onto a daily chart, this thing's had a huge move. 77, though, I mean, we're only right here. Like, it's not even that much. So we are down, but it could be a lot worse here, guys. Maybe even a little bit further to go.
Yeah, it could have been. Look, obviously, it could be a lot worse. I just think it's hard to, when you're coming off highs, the whole idea is you're supposed to be perfect, but even an imperfect report, they still got the rotation play going for them a little bit and the flight to safety play. So to the extent that the Nasdaq right now is going up and some of the risk names are looking good and the chips are still looking pretty good, it's kind of hard to want to get the long Coke. It's a weird thing to say, but I feel like if we were breaking through the lows on the Qs and the chips weren't looking, NVIDIA was underneath 190 and flushing, and if we were still having that kind of a session, then I might tell you, hey, this is probably a good day to buy the dip on KO, because I think the rotation is going to still be in play and it'll be all, we're all roses. Even with this bounce, I don't know that I have that feeling, unfortunately, and it does have to do with the strength that we're seeing in tech today, because I'm going to like these types of names for momentum when our growth, AI, are having weakness. It's not enough to say I would want to short Coke. I wouldn't go that far here today, but it'll be a stay away from the trade. But if I do see us flushing in the market, this would be a good place to go over to. You found a very solid base here at 75. It's making higher lows. A lot of the reaction actually looks pretty good. That 75 is out and about above the prior high. Like, there's a lot to somewhat like about it, but not in the midst of the tech strength. I want the other thing to be happening if I want to be long on a name like Coke here today. So this is one to file away, give it a couple of days, and if we see tech weakness start to come back, remember that the Coke is still above this 70. If it is, it's still above this 75 and prior high, and that's a good continuation type of play. But the theme needs to be right, and for now, it doesn't look like it.
Right here for Pepsi, I mean, the death of these companies due to GLP-1 seems to be overhyped to some extent, according to Pepsi's most recent move, higher right there. But you're coming into some areas of resistance up here near that 176, 174. So on Coke, not coming out with the greatest guide there. I mean, they guided 321 to 324, estimates of 323. So they'll come a little lighter on the guide with that 321, but I mean, I guess they know what they're doing to put that within 3 pennies. So I could see Pepsi kind of falling back in and maybe, seeing a little gap fill back in here into 156, and then I think you buy that quarter again. So just like what Meta did, gave the quarter back, maybe Pepsi does that. That would seem to be a big move to fall down like 7 or 8%, but if it does wind up coming back into this area, you get the whole quarter for free again, and Pepsi's quarter was huge. So I like this 156 area for Pep if it does feel some kind of ways from Coke. But I mean, again, Coke's it's down today, but I feel like it's going to rally back. I mean, the way we were just at 75, up to 77 there real quick. So if Coke continues to slip down a little bit there, I look to buy sort of the second name, Pepsi, on a better quarter. And you get it for free if you get it back down there at 155. So I like Pepsi down there.
Continue along here. Datadog, another one that's reported this morning, was up initially. We are getting a little bit of a pullback right now. If you zoom out onto the daily chart, we're starting to get into some significant levels here when you zoom into where we are this morning, 130, 140 area. Overall, though, I mean, kind of light on the volume side of things, but pretty good report here.
Yeah, interesting. I have no idea what's going on, Brendo, because they didn't do Well, they missed the guidance. So let's talk about that. Fiscal 2026, they're looking for $2.08 to $2.16 on revenue of 4.06 to 4.1. The street, maybe because that meets the range here. The street was looking for $2.34, so EPS a guidance miss, but revenue 4.1 billion. So not a bad look for the current quarter. They brought in about 49. Sorry. The analysts were looking for about 49 to 51 pennies on revenue of 951 to 961. They reported 52 pennies on 934 million. So we'll see how they do.
Overall, I mean, 125, guys, if you zoom out, might be an area to kind of look at here for Datadog today. But again, pretty light on volume right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, 140 to 145. It needs to get there. That's the breakout play on Datadog. Today, success would be just sort of holding around the 130 range, like somewhere underneath the 50 and the 200. That would look a little bit more interesting, but it's flying all over the place. It just went, like it's gone from $20 up to $10 down. And again, this is one that you probably want to be a little bit cautious of. Big time spread in the pre-market. I just want to get to the imbalance locator because there's nothing crazy out here. You got Snapchat as a buy of 600,000. Here, HIMS is there as a sell, 220. I feel like that was bigger a second ago, but now down. TSM, 200,000 to the buy side. So very light on the locator, but remember the market is not look, it's a pretty tight range and we haven't been more than 0.5% up or 0.5% down overnight here. And as I say that, Datadog just literally lost $2. So you know there's gonna be volatility with this. So eyeballs on Oscar, needs to hold that 13 right away. IBIT's already starting to roll over. I don't know if we get a shot around that 40 area short again, but its prior close was at that 40, so that's where we're going to be looking first. As we ring the bell on this Tuesday, we'll have Hood after the bell. We have a little bit of Fed speak, and let's get this party started. And we will get to that super chat in a quick little second there, JP, and we see you and we appreciate you.
I've been known to do crazy things before. I think we can try to go TQ short right here off the open. So I'm going to wait to see if we do break. We almost broke, by the way, 51.80 there. Let's see if we can break VWAP, get a little lower, break this 51.70 would be a short for me here. And then maybe just play it back to 52.10 or so. Don't necessarily want to short this high right now in case we do start to blast up. So I'm going to look for a 51.70 break lower there in order to get short. SLV is right at the short level for me of $75, but again, I don't want to be into anything too early other than the Nasdaq just to see if it gets me that initial flush that we might do. But silver now trying to break a little higher through the 200 period moving average.
Wow,
so
Oscar's already at 14.
Oscar's already ripped. Oscar's up 10%. Yeah, good, nice. Really happy with that one. All right, so silver's going to the upside. Yeah, we can go over to Neil for Oscar. I'm just looking at silver and looking right here at the TQQs.
Yeah, Oscar's already, to say it's gone, it hasn't broken the, I guess, the pre-market highs of 1420. Hey, 420. Why not? Hasn't broken that 1420 yet, but that 13, it didn't even try to dip into the prior low. It just instantly started blasting. So look for potential. If it does a false break in here, that could give a pullback into that 13 and volume weighted average price. Palantir is dropping. That could come into that 143 zone as well. Palantir failed the 146, couldn't break the pre-market high. Here, let me just do this chart without getting away from Oscar. Starting to pull back. So it closed about the 143 area. That's where I'd look for the dip buy there on PLTR. So Burry's got to be happy at least with a short. Although I suppose on his time frame, he can't really care that much.
All right, 74, we have a new position right now, 74.69 right here. We'll see if we can get a bid on silver now. So I know we were thinking about the short, but it did break above. We were holding the 200 period moving average. So now we're going to go long on silver and just see if it gives us that look back to 70. I mean, I'm not going to hold it that long. Where did I put my stop actually? What the hell am I talking about? 74.70. Yeah, okay, so right into there. So if we break below, then we'll, we'll snap out of this one. But worth a shot just to give it a couple seconds to see if it wants to get going there early. And look, if it doesn't, I mean, this will be 35 cents worth of a hit. So definitely worth it for me to have a look at this long to see if it does come out. And we'll actually just base a little bit more down here in the 90s if it can come in and just pull back just a little bit. And then give it this break there of 70. And then we'll get going over there on SLV. So initial position is long here on silver. Even though I'd written down short on SLV, I may wind up regretting that and going against, initial thought, but we've broken back now above and we're, didn't really have that initial flush. So let's wait to see what winds up happening here with silver. Right now long at 75.05. The high's been in and around, well, we'll take something out at 20 if it goes, and then see if we can't hold the rest of it. But here goes silver right now, early, sort of 10 cents, but we're obviously looking for a lot more. And if we can get something near yesterday's close, would be pretty good, 75.76, and then we can get up there from there. So yeah, we're holding this one and waiting for the Nasdaq to come back in a little bit. And then I see you're on IBIT. I was looking to short 39.50. I don't know if it's there yet.
It's putting in a lower high, so it's doing that thing where if it doesn't get to 40, try the first lower high I put in, which will be right underneath that 39.5. Oscar is not pulling back, so this might be, it might just take a bit of patience with Oscar. It's still running toward that 14.20. Doesn't seem to want to take out the high just yet, and the pullback is also not happening. A bit of a dip happening in NVIDIA, and Palantir is still headed to the downside. So Palantir made a bottom just at about 144. Another one coming in here at the 144 level. Still needs to at least test. It's a little heavy here in Palantir, as you can obviously see. So needs to test down to that 143. That would be the support level, at least that I'm watching. Oh, there was one more that we didn't talk about. Intel. Well, another day, another test of the 50 level on Intel. Every single day it seems to cross the path of 50 at least once, but it was 51 that held the resistance. For the last couple sessions, Friday and then yesterday as well. It doesn't mean I don't take a shot at the lower highs, but ultimately I think patience yesterday would have been waiting for the actual 51 level to come in, but that was a flat bottom break there. It looks like we're not going to get Oscar and IBIT. Got to remember Intel on that 50 level as it tries to bounce. I mean, the market hasn't moved much. It's still very flat here in the Nasdaq, but it is slightly heading to said downside.
That's funny because we had, we nailed IBIT and we just didn't take it because we took silver. There's IBIT right there, 39.50. It went to 39.40. They're now starting to fail outside just a little bit on that. So our silver, we went into the long on silver, so we went sort of opposite there. It's now 15 cents and trying to go a little bit higher here on SLV. We'll see if it can get there right now. We'll see, like waiting for 30s and 40s on silver. We'll see if it can get there. And then we are going to try the Q short if it does break. There's IBIT, there's Palantir 143. So I'm just trying to let all these things settle down a little bit. Silver doesn't look like it even wants to go right now. Okay, Palantir, still waiting. We wrote down 143, so we got to wait for that just a little bit. Hopefully it comes in, but maybe it doesn't there. Obviously, Neil's been on Oscar. We have Robinhood reporting today as well. We can have a quick look over there as Bitcoin still 69.1. Okay, Robinhood upside a little bit, just shaking out right now. Yesterday's sort of trade of the day for me, which was pretty much the whole day for me, was SoFi. And yesterday the long was 21. Unbelievable that it came in once again there today. And yesterday's SoFi trade was just buying all of this. And we bought it there. We bought it 3 times actually on all 3 of these dips, which created that sort of action for us. And then today it just comes right in and goes, okay, we'll give it to you again, but too bad you're not sitting there, all the way to 21.50 now for SoFi. So that name's definitely starting to work. And we're gonna wait to see if the Qs gets us into this short, right? I mean, punching short through 70 is what I'm gonna try to take. So if that comes in, we'll watch out for the Qs and then try to use some of these highs as our out. Like that's the 50 period there is 52 and 52.05 is the 25 period that we like to use there as a short as well. So yeah, it looks like we're trying to break a little lower right now on the TQQs. Looks like we're getting ready to get into that short. Silver, remember where our out is. If we break back below 70, we can get out of silver right here. So nice dip buy opportunity there. We'll see if that can hold. So it looks like we're short now the TQs and long right now on silver. Let's see where this one goes.
Yeah, it's going to end up not being Bitcoin first or Oscar. It'll actually end up being Intel under VWAP and that $50 level. Looks like it's just trying to hold underneath the prior low. Oh, by the way, AMD's going ham again. Anytime you're looking at the market coming back in and like looking for a chip stock short, like the first thing I want to see, let me just get the bid at the low here. I'm still seeing, that's weird. Anyways, it's like crossed markets I'm seeing on Edge X every now and then. No, we got the bottom in here on INTC, but I did want to show you guys what was happening in AMD, which is going the other direction. At least it was. It was breaking at 219, up 1% now to the upside for AMD. NVIDIA is almost at $190, so that's heading down. And it keeps missing my bid here on Intel. Okay, I'll move it just a little bit from 58 to 60 to be able to catch the fill. So we're short underneath the volume weighted average price. a better price would be in the 80s, but I have 75, so every quarter is a bit of a thing here on Intel. And yeah, IBIT did miss that curl, as it is now LOD on on Bitcoin, I should say. IBIT, of course, 24-hour market, but you're pretty much at these lows already. I'll just go ahead and cancel the offer. If it pops back up, I can look at the volume-weighted average price for an entry point.
All right, man, we lose on silver, but we bank on TQs. So again, like kind of going against our first idea there of short silver at 75, that would have been cash, but then we would have got stopped at, well, maybe we wouldn't have. It goes as high as 75.25. We have a little bit of an out, but then we lost it there once it broke, and we just touched 74.50. So yeah, definitely should have been playing the short on silver, dum-dum. All right, here goes TQs. You know, this is the trade that we wanted, and we put it on. So we'll just continue to hold this one and see where it goes now. I'm out of a small piece. We're out of about 15%. Trying to get out of another 5% here at 51.50s flat. It just missed us. So that was this low there. So we'll sit there, see if we take out day's low. And we were feeling bearish. I mean, just rewind it. We started the show talking all kind of bearish activity. And unfortunately, we wound up going long on silver. But that's okay. We can make those decisions and live with them. So, but that's okay. We're now flat on the day with everything. So we just need to work out a little bit. All right, Palantir flushes with the market, still doesn't get, well, it came in, we were done 142.50, sorry, not 143.50. So we'll get that going on that one. Silver might battle back. I mean, we can maybe look at that 75 again at some point here. Market making a move backside, so we're only out of 15%. Let's see if we can get a little bit lower there, and still watching out for 52 to possibly break. We're just gonna use this as our out, right, on the TQs. This is way we can still have those big days and not, suffer, big losses. 52 at break, yeah, could be an out for us. So let's see. Here it comes back in. We'll put another couple points here out at 61s if it does come back in, and just sort of try to have some patience here with the QQQs. The other name I wrote down was IBIT. So IBIT, futures, and silver right now to look at.
IBIT's trying to bounce. This could give it a chance to get into the volume-weighted average price for an entry. But also, Oscar is looking like it's making its first move down here, so fails the pre-market high. Obviously, that's not a great thing, but if you're looking to buy the dip on trend, you need it to come down. 13.5 will be VWAP here for OSCR. Intel is continuing its flush. So there we go. So it just broke the low. I'm looking to reload at VWAP if we can. But this is a pretty hefty gap once you've lost this support. Yesterday went all the way down to 47.6. There's zero expectation that that's going to happen today. I just look back to go to Friday and find this opening range bottom at about 48.8 to 49. Like that's the target area would be this move here for Intel. So yeah, Oscar is still trying to pull back in here. NVIDIA does not want to hold the 190. I'm looking the 15-minute needs to hold the 190 level. If it can't, then it's hard. You got to look for a gap fill here on NVDA. Man, Oscar is strong. I can't go every time the market ticks lower, and I actually look over expecting Oscar to go down, and it just keeps on ticking higher. I didn't want to chase up here on Oscar, and I'm inclined to not do that. So staying patient, it's going to have to be VWAP or maybe some kind of later breakout play for OSCR. Up 10%. It was all about the guidance for Oscar. If you look at the top and the bottom line, they actually missed on the top and bottom, but a monster guide has them up 10%.
All right, we have a monster trade on with a monster guide. It's the TQs, and here it goes, man. Obviously pumping through right now as we get better and better and better at trading these futures. So that's going to be good, man. It's too bad that we had written down like our number one trade of the day was silver short at 75. That would have been real nice, but instead we went long and lost a little bit on that one. So boo-hoo there. But let's find out like where this TQ could actually wind up going here today. So if this does, give us that move, we're sitting here. This is 51.10s, 51.20s, pretty nice. That's 51 flat. Coming into yesterday's afternoon, 50.25. Yeah, just more downside, obviously, here, as I feel like it's a little bit of blue skies. We'll put a bid at 31, make sure we capture a little bit of this move. Yeah, there it is, a little bit of a bounce back. Let me punch some more out there, 35s. We'll still wait for 31s, but so far so good, and we have to adjust our stop now, as this is back to 51.90 now. We could still get stopped out of this. So, but nice downside play there for the TQQs, and it's going to be, we've already talked about this. This will be the biggest trade. It just has to hold. Whether or not that happens or not, we'll see. There it goes to the downside right now for the TQs. So good trade on Intel on that side. And then there it is, man. Despite losing on silver, we do have our daily goal met if we were to cash out of everything on the TQs right now. But we're going to get a little greedy and see if there is a little bit of a bigger push. And then, of course, as soon as that happens, now we get some upside moves. Remember, we do have business inventories at 10 o'clock. So that could rally this, but we're still going to watch VWAP underneath the 200, underneath the 50 period moving average. Let's see how low this name can actually go here. More bids in the 30s if we can get it, but for now, it's downside here with the TQQs, and so far so good. Just a little bit of a scalp. Just too bad we didn't listen to our rules, our own ideas, obviously on IBIT, because that would now be $1 in the money. And then we went the complete opposite way on silver. So, but let's see if that can hold, and maybe we get an opportunity to go short again in and around 75. But this should be a good area to dip by. Silver's not really doing a whole heck of a lot, and we'll wait to see if that does come in. But right now it's TQs making a little bit of a move higher. We're out of about half of this trade so far.
Yeah, I just took it all out on Intel. We talked about the target there. It was just underneath the 49. It was 48.8 going back to Friday's opening range bottom. And we did get a slight bounce. It went right to 48.8 and then sort of just clipped the level almost exactly. I threw a tight stop to trail out. I will look for a VWAP retracement on Intel, but that's now $1. It dropped $1. It's going to have to work its way up quite a bit to get a re-entry on that. However, Bitcoin doesn't have to go that far to get into VWAP, only about another 15 or 20 cents. So I want to start nibbling in underneath the volume weighted average price for IBIT here if we were able to catch it. Might have missed the boat. You can't say missed the boat on Palantir. It didn't get to the prior close. It didn't actually press down to that prior close at all, but it is catching a nice bid here for PLTR. NVDA, not as much, well under the 190. There was a small bounce off 190, but I'm not seeing anything close above 190. If I don't see it close above 190, then I don't like the strength whatsoever. So yeah, Intel was good, but Oscar still doesn't want to fall. The market wants to fall, but Oscar still doesn't want to fall yet. It's slowly grinding down toward VWAP. I'm being patient here, thinking that the dip buy can get us at least something in the 13.5 range. I don't want to chase too far away from that 13, but if they're looking for strength, it certainly is here. In Oscar. I'm just going to quickly double check because I know Netflix was moving on that Warner Brothers. Yeah, it's still going higher. So Netflix is still moving higher, up now 2.5%. There was a revised Warner Brothers bid from Paramount Skydance. It's still $30 in cash. They literally added some 25-cent ticket fee that I'm not even trying. I have to read up to see what that means, but an infinitesimal change to the bid. But Netflix is reacting positively on this despite the market weakness.
It's okay, I believe we didn't take our own trade on silver. Today's still really big, but it would be so much bigger. Thank you, Chris Arthur. Yeah, today's a good day for me. We got Oscar in their portfolio, and back. This is I mean, you don't have to follow me for the trade ideas or any ideas. You don't have to follow at all. But back in October, we tweeted out that we were taking a position in Target. Down here in the 85 area. So we have done that. It's now up to 116, 117. So it's had a nice run up, right, in the retail space. So that's going to be quite a nice little victory lap to take here on Target. So before we get a little too cocky with it, I mean, our top was going to be around this 120 anyways. So here at 115, 116, 117 now for Target after, 6 or 7 straight up days. Obviously, we have one little blip there. Might be worth, I don't know about emptying the clip here or not, but worth getting out a majority maybe here on Target and looking to deploy that capital elsewhere. Just been a huge move up, and we saw a name like we didn't get out of everything, like Lululemon there. Went up to 215 or something like that on earnings. Yeah, wow, okay. That's pretty good memory. I'm always surprised myself. Up to 215 there and then fell out. So we did get something out when this was happening. Was hoping for a bigger break, but now we will still have an opportunity hopefully to get some more out in this 211, 212 area. So same kind of thing, man. We bought some Lululemon down here, 166, 167. We actually initially bought some here before earnings, drops back in, and then was able to get the day 3 bid of 165, giving us an average price of 170, something like that, and then nice upside take. So we're in the money on Lululemon, but just because it's bouncing today is a nice story. All right, man, right back to the lows. And again, we're making them sing over here. Good trade for Intel. We got a great trade over here on the TQs as that just hits 51.30 again. Downside pressure there. And wow, this call on silver, man. I know that there's a lot of people that were bullish on it today, but there's the 75 short. That's now $1.30 in the money and going lower. We chose the short on the futures, and we should have chose it on SLV. We did go long there, made a little bit of money, then lost it on the way back down. But look what's happening to silver right there. So we'll go, that was a good idea temporarily. Who knows where it's going to wind up, but the silver short looks like that's a printing machine right now. Bid some more out here on the TQs. I don't know if there's going to be a downside push or not. We'll take a 44 there and just watch to see if this one wants to go. So yeah, what's up short? Pump, the long, the dump. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I took it long, which went against the sticky note, my guys. So yeah, we should have followed it. And I hope that you did there, short the pump, long the dump. I think those are good ideas.
I like that. I like that. Short the pump, long the dump. Just be careful with it, but it's all about like not just a reversion trade, but it's like taking the stairs to the upside, right? Like it's a heck of a lot easier to buy dips on an uptrend than it is to take a
damn.
For sure. We're finally we got some into IBIT here, and it's not even at VWAP.
Holy shit,
It doesn't
Joe.
go to 40, but we're short underneath prior day lows, so pre-market lows, prior day lows. We're now short underneath that, so we're jumping in to that party. Intel is still actually falling, so maybe it does fill in the entirety of the gap here on Intel, which would be 47.6. There was no big, it did bounce into 49.2. It was like a 40-cent bounce, almost a full % on Intel, but not close enough to get into that volume weighted average price. So we are into IBIT to the south side for the second short of the day. Oscar is very, very slowly still moving towards VWAP. This is a very slow pullback here on Oscar. Good in that the market's at the lows and breaking down, and Oscar doesn't want to fall apart. So once I see it bounce off VWAP here, I'll look for the shot at the long trade. And then one last one for you, Palantir retesting the lows. Oscar's a New York stock, Palantir is not, obviously, so there we go. Testing the lows, but has not dipped into that afternoon support. We're short into this yesterday. This is a bounce spot we're looking for on PLTR. Could go for a trend break, but it hasn't really set that up just yet. But yet is the key word. If we keep this downtrend, then that's going to be in play after 10 o'clock for me. Uh-oh.
All right. Oh, boy.
Carney spoke to Trump this morning.
Yes, I heard that. I saw that.
There is talk about the potential deals or more negotiation at least happening. You know, there's been hope of that for a while here in Canada. But it's good to hear they're talking at least. That'll bode well for our economy. Can't get away from that partnership. You can say whatever you want, but still a very important partner for
oh yeah, of course,
Canada.
the biggest of importance. So, like, now it's like I have to stop out even earlier because if we're gonna follow the 25-minute or 20-25 period on a 1-minute chart, we're getting close now, you know. But it's fine. Like, this is why we get out of some shares on the way down. You were still holding a little under half as we had sort of discussed that. We got a fill there. I took a fill at 50s. Now let's see if it comes back in. Yeah, really hoping that we can hold this. I'm going to adjust the stop now because it was at 52. We can, I mean, now that I'm here watching it, I don't need to stop right here. I can punch that out if that does wind up happening. But 51.90 now, 51.91 for a stop here on the TQQs. And if that, you know, if it blasts higher, it blasts higher. We did write down Palantir at 143, of course, and where does it go? 143.50, so that could have been a look, but still quite not set up yet. And that one wasn't an A-plus kind of name. I just thought that, you know, when we talked about coming back in a little bit there could have been a short flush, which is what happened. Just didn't get into yesterday's levels for me. So something like that, forget about it. Chris Arthur, you did sell. Okay, not bad. You sold some of your target there at 103. I mean, again, to each their own. Everybody is going to have their own share sizes and all that kind of stuff. So if you did sell your target there at 103, it's unfortunate I can't get. I just loaded the thing up now, so I'll have to show it on screen this way. You sold half your target position at 103, and the other half I'm keeping for dividend. Yeah, well, there is a good dividend there, and a new president could push to 200 in the next 5 years. Yeah, nothing wrong with that call at all. And
we did have a super chat today.
I think being long, okay, we can go with the super chat. I think being long target, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it is a nice move higher, and if I love that strategy, man. Sell half, keep half. I really, really enjoy that kind of talk. So that's something that I'll probably be doing as well. I don't know about exiting the whole thing, but for me, probably the majority. It has been a nice move higher there, and always looking to raise cash. So yeah, good trade there on target. And yeah, if we have a super chat, we can definitely hit that up.
Just going to throw it up from JPN. If there was another super chat that we missed, apologies, but I just see this one here. Any thoughts on ServiceNow? So just very quickly, we get a lot of these. Obviously, just before I do that, we always got to show the trades. As good as Intel was, we might lose VWAP here to the upside on IBIT, which is what I'm going to use as my out. But ServiceNow up 4 points today into a, I want to say, weak market, obviously. Oh, this is not split adjusted. That's always annoying when that happens. But this did not do the rounded bottom that all of these other depressed stocks seem to, where it hasn't gotten back up to retest this resistance. And that's sort of a litmus for me. Like in this rebound trade, whether it's a software name, it could be a nuclear name, I don't care. If it was seen as overpriced and all that stuff and was part of this doldrums that we've had in tech, then I want to at least have rounded the bottom here and be testing this breakout over like 110 to 112. So yeah, it's up 4 points, and yes, it looks great here for this 3-minute chart that I'm looking at, but there is that overhead resistance sitting there for ServiceNow. And you have to remember how far a lot of these stocks came to the downside before they got back in. So hopefully that helps on the super chat there, JPN. And you don't have to send a super chat, but as long as you're in the chat, and to do so, you have to be a subscriber, everybody. So hit the subscribe, jump in while the water's warm, enjoy. Make sure you do $ in front. Like I see Microsoft in there, and whomever did not type $, but Microsoft is still #1 on our stock visualizer, which is surprising. Like I expected to see Netflix because of that move. I expect to see Palantir, Tesla, EVMN, that's that small capper we were mentioning, PHIO, another small capper we mentioned, Spot reported, we just talked about ServiceNow, CRBO as well. But top of the list, actually Microsoft. I'm pretty sure this is the first time, maybe it did so after earnings, I'm not even sure it did then, that we actually have Microsoft on the top of our stock visualizer, up 1.5%. And at the high of the day, of course it's at 420. What other price would it be at when I pull it up? Go figure, right? Like,
yeah, it has to be there.
No, it's like 420 and then 666. I don't know how many times I will flip to a stock that's in the 650 range, and at the moment that I flip to it, it's the 666, which is rather ominous. But 420 on Microsoft, you can't make it up.
All right, we have 5 minutes till business inventories, but the market's trying to climb back higher here. So yeah, nothing going on. Oops, that's still target, my bad. Nothing really going on. Move forward right there. So big move higher. Just trying to see if anything wants to happen here. It doesn't really look like that is going to go through. Short. I don't know why we didn't get stopped. Oh, that's why. I put $5,096 to stop me out. So 52.06 here for the stop out. We'll see if that winds up hitting. With business inventories right around here, looks like we will take a 30-cent hit on the last piece of this. Okay, there it goes. We didn't really average up into it. It was just that trade. So that move there, stop out on the high side as we continue to climb further. Again, just a choppy morning, man. We had the short. This is what happened yesterday. We had the short, we get knocked out of it, and then continue to go higher. Today, because there's that number coming, I don't think we need to punch short right now on that again, so we'll have to wait. But it's a nice V-shaped recovery for sure in the market as market go boom right now back to the upside. So we tried it there and just didn't work that last time. So I think we need to look at IBIT obviously going lower as I just looked at and saw 68.8 there. Underneath, so I still think we want to look to go short. The market, if this business inventories number is bad, we could use that sort of pre-market high right there maybe and try to get into that short again here against sort of some of that. This is the Nasdaq, not the TQQs, but we're just right back to where we were as the market opened up before that dump. So, a complete retracement back to the upside. Maybe we look to get short now, but against what? So if I use the TQs again, we just have that high there of 52.12. Man, it's still 3 minutes until. All right, we can go short, just a small piece here, and then be careful because there is that number coming out. It's almost like an imbalance, right? We don't know if it's going to be higher or lower, but we'll play it off that top, and then if we break 52.12 or so right there, then I think we can think about getting out and then just regrouping against that number. So here we go right now. Small position right now in the TQQs, but against a number coming out. So just watch out to see if we do continue to go a little higher here. 52.25 would be sort of the top in this AM trade. So right now TQs just hovering in a position here. We'll hold the short, but might not be that short that we're looking for here. So didn't work worked early, didn't sort of work late. It's only 9:57, so
2 minutes till the number.
Yeah, lots of time here, but 2 minutes till the number. So watch out for a topside sort of takeout here on the TQs as we get ready for that number. Oscar's at 14.
Oscar just pushed through VWAP, but IBIT very briefly just wicked the volume weighted average price. I jumped out. Actually, my VWAP is different on my black chart. So my stop is underneath VWAP. It doesn't really matter. I'm back in underneath the volume weighted average price with a stop at the local high here as Oscar continues to go to the downside. So it doesn't stop at the volume weighted average price. We might actually test or retest that 13 area back into the prior close. So trying to be patient with Oscar. I have asked Adara, for a lot of people in the chat have said PayPal is flying around here. It's up a couple of points. I haven't really seen a news story on them. Maybe there is, maybe like an upgrade or something for PayPal here. But it is relatively strong. Again, I'm not really seeing. I think there's.
They got a price target cut.
Yeah, that's negative, right? Like, Truist maintained a sell and cut the price target, which obviously would not be good news. PayPal seems to not care and is bouncing. Of note here for PayPal, though, would be it's made two consecutive, it would be three if it did it today, 2 consecutive higher lows after its earnings bottom. So if you give it that whole 3-day rule, it's now past that and making some higher lows. So PayPal starting to look a little constructive for the long after getting woodshedded on earnings. Let's go to Adara. We have a number coming out in less than a minute.
Go numbers.
Just so you guys know as well, in addition to these numbers, we currently have U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick testifying before a Senate committee, currently speaking with Senator John Kennedy. If there's anything market moving here, I will let you know, but as of right now, it really hasn't been. I want to mention as well here, business inventories month over month. That's the number we're going to be getting. 0.2% is the forecast. 0.3% is the prior print. So we are expecting a slight, I guess not decrease here, but slightly lower print than what we got last month. Again, we're going to be getting business inventories for November. Retail inventories ex auto, smaller print, also coming here for November in just 1 second now. Let's see if we get this number and if it populates right away at 10. I am not seeing it yet. Give me a moment here to see if we are getting this number here. Again, that is business inventories month over month for the month of November, 0.1%. So below the forecast of 0.2 and the previous print of 0.3. Here's the Nasdaq, guys. You can see super range bound here. We drop right off the open, then we come right back up and make a slightly lower high. There are tons of earnings to discuss today. We've got Spotify, we had Coca-Cola, our friend BP, Ferrari, tons of earnings that reported before the bell today, and then also some yesterday after the bell, including CRDO and ON. Let's talk here about PLTR, though. PLTR making some moves here, a little bit choppy after Michael Burry comes out and forecasts that the stock could drop by almost 60% based on this head and shoulders pattern he found in the chart. Speaking of earnings, we have a massive one after the bell today. That is Robinhood, HOOD, Robinhood, Lyft. We're going to be getting Cloudflare, Ford. Those will all be after the bell. Do not miss it. We'll be covering those starting at 4 p.m. And we're going to send you back over to Neil and Sean. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Absolutely, everybody. And make sure as well to have a look at PDS Biotechnology. That's PDSB over on the Nasdaq. And they're transforming how the immune system targets and fights cancer, with an initial focus on HPV-16 positive head and neck cancers. HPV-16 can cause head and neck cancer, and more people are facing these high-risk cancers than ever before. HPV-16 positive head and neck cancers are projected to become the most common type of head and neck cancer in the U.S. in the next few years. PDSB over on the Nasdaq. I want to thank them for sponsoring this next hour of the show. We appreciate them. Look, I see in the chat, SoFi is apparently flying. There's a lot of names to get to. Like now when the market's going up, Oscar is it just doesn't seem to want to get back above VWAP, but we did have a nice little trend down, bottoming tail candle. If it can close above the volume weighted average price, I want to look to try to punch long in here for sure. Let's see if it's able to do it. I mean, this was one that actually liked for a long today. It just never really gave you the bid. Once it opened, it gave you the bid in the pre-market. It never gave you the bid after the open. IBIT is right at VWAP still. Bitcoin, I should say, is right at the volume weighted average price. Again here, so we re-entered, bottoming tail, looking for the bid down into the low. It actually quadruple bottomed on a 3-minute at 38.5. So call it 68,000 holding for support is the best way to think about it. So Oscar is still going to be on my mind. It's not an automatic trade here because if we can't regain VWAP, then there's a press lower, and then I can wait for a better potential entry price on OSCR after their earnings. Good day for them so far, up 5%, but it is giving a little bit back. We got another super chat in here. Throw it up there, Andre. We got Bartaruto. There we go. What's your take on Wolf?
Bartaruto.
You have a nice day as well. TerraWolf. What's TerraWolf doing here? I mean, first things first, I have not even looked at this stock today. So this will be the first time, and I always want to double check to make sure I'm not missing a story. There was a move yesterday's trade, but yeah, no story this morning, nothing new that I can find on TerraWolf, except for quite the most obvious top. Well, I mean, what do you expect me to say? The daily chart is showing you 17 resistance for literally a quarter, and we just tagged it again here. It's a higher low. Yeah, it looks like a standard sort of breakout play over the 17 level. Wide range here, down to 16, which makes it tricky. I'm not a huge fan usually of liking things to break out without a catalyst. Like, what's going to get it through the level if it doesn't have news? So keep your ear to the ground on this, I think, would make a little bit more sense. Because you need something to push it through the 17. It's probably got a good short float on it, which could help it for a bigger move. But at the end of the day, without a catalyst, I'm wary of things trying to break through new price levels for TerraWolf. So I'll slap the fail on IBIT. The early short good, the secondary one above VWAP, so I got to walk away from it at least until it presses those highs. Intel for round 2 didn't really quite push up into the volume weighted average price, which is what I'm waiting for on INTC. Yeah, good look on TerraWolf. That's a great level at 17, but I don't see what gets it through there.
All right, yeah, thanks for the question. Keep those coming through, and we do have, if you do put in $ whatever symbol you're looking for, then it will show up here on our stock visualizer. And, you know, Datadog, good. Oh yeah, I wanted to look, Amazon's up there as well. So we'll keep on looking at this EVMN there, up 43% to $24. That's a
good low floater.
I was gonna say that's a little bit of a different name for us right here, but all right, so I want to look at Amazon. Amazon went basically parabolic to the upside off of this 206. Like, I don't know, just nice fire, man, right up there, up $4, straight going now for AMZN. We'll have a look at maybe a higher level here. Where can we go on Amazon? I mean, it looks like it does want to think about breaking through this 211.50 area. So that's a good area for support if you are long, resistance if you're long, to have a quick little look down there. And then, you know, for support, I didn't really see why we should have bounced there off 206, but I mean, if you come back just a couple days, there was this area right there. That's 206. You know, looking a little lower, you would think 204, 205 maybe. And then this is a great, like, on that first day when we dumped down on earnings, I was waiting literally at this 198. Didn't get it. We kind of ticked in and around that $200 mark for Amazon. I've since pulled it, but I thought that could have been a decent buy. Now I don't think I want to get a 200 bid, but if it does come back in, that's a pretty exciting area there for Amazon, but have to wait to see what winds up printing for it, right? But yeah, for right now, 211, good name there, AMZN. Big Bear AI had a good day yesterday. I saw some traders asking, obviously, about Big Bear AI, so we can have a quick look at this falling down, right? So this is going to be a little bit of a problem. We've now broken through the 200 period moving average to the downside. We'll wait for earnings for these guys. You know, with Palantir falling and some of these AI names and, you know, Atlassian and just some of these, you know, bigger names there, that are in that space look to be downside now. So there goes Big Bear AI breaking through $4 and trying to hold $4 there at that low. We need to get back up to this 200 period, so we're going to have to wait for some Big Bear AI. The other name that I have is Marvell. I think with recent moves on NVIDIA and whatnot, Marvell finally starting to do okay now as well. But Marvell holding fort now. Big move downside. It didn't pick up anymore, but I like this battle back there for Marvell, Broadcom, NVIDIA, the whole space.
BBI doesn't
seems like it could be good.
March?
Yeah, BBI. Yeah, they're a late
reporter. We're like a month away for them. I would have thought they were sooner.
A couple weeks after NVIDIA there too.
Yeah, so after NVIDIA is, I feel like that's, I don't want to, if I was like a growth AI type play, I almost would want to go before NVIDIA than after NVIDIA. I just feel like you get a better chance at a ramp job there, and then NVIDIA can put more risk on the space than the other side around. Let's go to Adara. Oscar is still being very stubborn about this volume weighted average price.
Yeah, just be aware here, we still have this meeting happening, or this hearing rather, with senators and U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. They're talking mostly about broadband and internet. So just be aware here, keep an eye on Global Star, which has already been mentioned, GSAT. You can keep an eye on here, they mentioned Starlink as well. So just be aware of some of these satellite names. That's not what I want to talk about though. I want to talk about MBIS. Nebius, this came out, it looks like at 9:35 a.m., but now I'm seeing it circulate on social media roughly 30 minutes later. NBIS announcing that it agreed to acquire Tavali for $275 million to, quote, build the unified stack for AI agents. So AI-related acquisition here, $275 million acquisition of Tavali for NBIS. As you can see, once we start getting this circulated, NBIS does get a little bit of a pump. Back to you.
Thank you very much there, Adara. We're still looking, relatively weak in Intel. It's like we're at the lows of the day. I just turned it on. I'm like, what is actually really strong right now? I know Microsoft is blowing out and Apple just went green or so, but there's a lot that I'm watching that just doesn't look strong at all. Intel at that low of the day. NVIDIA literally chilling off the lows, slapped the fail on the 190 level, I should say. If NVIDIA has a 120 level, where if you ever see that price, then you're just sort of loading it up. But the 190 failing here on NVIDIA, if it can get back over, that'd be one, but I'm slapping the fail on that because I did say this, if it closed underneath 19 on the 15-minute, I should be looking for the short. But I wanted it to hold today, so you can manifest it all you want. It didn't happen, so it should have been a short to 190. We'll see if we can rectify that. As Oscar, okay, you got to do it this time, Oscar. Another retest of volume-weighted average price here has yet to actually close on any kind of strength, and we've got the floppy disk. Man, I remember those, which means I'm old. Just Hasbro. That's it.
That's it.
Just dropping the Hasbro in there.
They had a good quarter though. I think they reported last night, Hasbro.
No, I know there's a new He-Man movie coming out. I don't know. If
maybe. Yeah, they've been on
they're
fire.
Transformers. I don't know if they're. Anyways, Hasbro's been absolutely on fire. It is a big break. Oh, Oscar did break above VWAP, by the way. But this is a big-time monster runner. I don't necessarily know any technicals. I'm not when it comes to something which is blue sky setup, I'm more along the lines of, okay, well, here was the resistance before, like the 82. And then it breaks out at like this 98 level, so just kind of go like that's $16. So then from up there it goes to like 114, and that's about as far as I would go. Like we'll talk to Brian Shannon about this all the time. Like you can do Fibonacci's and that kind of a thing to look for where a stock might go. I just go from where was the prior resistance that it's breaking out from to the one here, and then look for that move up, which suggests that it has some room to 114 would be the way that I would look at Hasbro. But this one is an absolute flyer. The only reason I bring up the He-Man thing is, I don't know, I saw a trailer for it, and I'm not sure it's going to be very good.
Oh, no? Yeah, I was wondering.
No, it's got Idris Elba in it. Like, they have
some people, at least.
I'm not sure about that movie. But it seems like it's a difficult one to get right. If you know the brand, but maybe that's not even Hasbro. Who knows? So Oscar finally busting through off the volume weighted average price. We'll see if it can get to that 14-point level. That's going to be the target. It is a trend break. It is a VWAP hold. I will reload it at VWAP if we get a shot, and I'm just giving it to this prior bar wick here. It's like 13.25 on OSCR. All about the guide for them. Don't worry about the top and the bottom. Like, look past that. It wasn't very good.
Yeah, don't look there. We have a new position. We'll see if it's going to work out a little bit. We just took $1 on the first piece of it. Let me just bid another piece. I mean, the spread is so big right here, and when it moves, it moves. So here we go. Good ticks, man. Our best out here is 380.59 right now. So we are short now on Micron. Just came right into some of these levels there. Yesterday's kind of closing price of 383. Nice run up there on Micron. It just, went up basically trying to revert this a little bit from 66 to 82s there. So like you're up $14 or $16 right quick. So we've actually just scalped out a little bit of that for that dollar and came in real quick, and we did not break that 380. So that's kind of where I was waiting to see. I mean, I might also put another bid down there just in case it somehow swipes us. But we're going to get out on that high, 382.50. So the most we got there was about just under $1, or just over $1 on that trade. And now we'll wait to see if it winds up flushing to the upside. Micron, I mean, again, like it's moving basically $1 at a time. So if you're wrong, it will just swipe up. If you're right, it will swipe down. So we take a little bit of an advantage there on the first swipe down. Hopefully that next swipe is not up. See, like right there, we were just at 382, and then you would have just been able to get 381.50 on the downside. So we'll give it a little bit of room here. We do understand that this is very violent. So 382.50, we're going to be out, and we'll mark it out of this. This is not a huge trade, size-wise. For me, it's got a little bit bigger there with that fill, but we'll see. There we go. It takes them out there in the 80s again. So reload the position. We've got it on now. We'll see if it wants to fall back in. We'll bid another one at 3. There we go. So now it's starting to fall. So good reload a little bit there on Micron. If you're down to dance with the devil, then I'm here with you. So here we go on Micron. Let's see if it makes that move lower. We just took another 83 fill. Here it comes back in. Now $1 on this one, but I don't want to have too much time in hand. So we are starting to clear this out as we, taking a few hits this morning. So want to make sure that we capture some profit. And this one could still take out some of those highs, but we're here in case it flushes. We took another 381 right there. So we're just taking $1 and trying to scalp this out as we go. So far, so good here on the downside push. Oh, we had a bid here on the TQ. So even though we're going to be short the market, short Micron right here, which is flushing, we're also short long the market, which is going opposite here for us as the TQs just fell right into our lap there.
Yeah, the market just did a topping tail.
I don't know what it was doing there.
The Qs just did a topping tail over the overnight highs there, just very quickly. Not quite. We'd have to close this 15-minute candle, obviously. 15-minute candle to be a topping tail. But it does look like a topping tail candle, at least for now, on the Qs. That's going to put me back to, well, if it's a short style entry on the future, if it does it, I want to look to Intel. If I can't get VWAP on Intel, so I'm just looking at, there's the volume weighted average price, there's the last test on trend, so we connect the dots. If we can close underneath, that would be a place to look for that reversal play for the short. NVIDIA is breaking the low of the day as we speak as well. So some weakness in the chips, everybody, is NVIDIA is about to head down. I would like to get Intel before it actually breaks these lows. So it'll have to be a relatively tight stop because you're very close to the bottom. Once we close under the trend line, I got to go stop sort of here at 48.92. Checking Oscar. Oscar's still holding up. It's at that quarter mark. So got with 50 to the quarters. I'd like it to press to that 14. But Intel for the short, now that we have that topping tail, is going to be on my mind, at least if we can close underneath here. And for everyone still watching, we were talking about PayPal. It is still up at those highs. I'm inclined to think there's a reversal on this stock if it doesn't actually make this breakout. So remember this earnings resistance? It's all the way at 44, but the lower high was right in here around the 42 level. It's the kind of thing you remember. It's my favorite number, and I remember it being a good level that morning after earnings. If it gets up there, I'd like a trend break somewhere around that high, but it hasn't really busted through 42 yet. I stress the yet for PayPal, but it is on my watch. I like those trend reversals.
All right, man. We're now $3 in here on Micron, so we're ringing the register a little bit as it's trying to fall back in, and we're just absorbing this take here on the TQs. We're able to get some profit, some out for flat here, as I'm not sure how much I love the long, but we are in it, so we're just going to give it a couple seconds here to see if it does hold the VWAP, which we almost broke right there. So it's just funny to be in a Micron short, but a market long. So that's kind of giving me some kind of feels right now. I don't know if that's something that we actually want to be into. So we'll offer a little bit more on here for our outs on the TQs and see if the Micron wants to bleed its own blood here down to the bottom. But it just bounced nicely off 379. So our stop is still intact. We've been taking profit on this, and it looks like I'm really scalping it out, which I am doing, but at the same time, the moves are pretty violent. So we've been able to withstand a move up to get reloaded and then out again. So if the market does pump higher here, we have the futures, and we're now out of like 2/3, if not more, of that on Micron near those lows. So we'll see if the market can find a base here and get back up to the upside. We didn't necessarily want both of these trades on board, so that's why it's kind of a decent thing that we're able to get out right now of some of these TQs and even to get out. Here we go, Micron, there we go, so fine. So there goes Micron to the upside. It's very, very successful trade. We'll put down some money there, but you had to have scalped it out right there near those lows. Now we have to wait to see if the market actually wants to try to go to the upside here on a little bit of a flush there, right back into VWAP. So that may not work out. But hey, Micron did, so we're happy with that one. But now we just got to worry about our biggest loser on the day, which would be the TQ. When we try to go short and then short right there. So now we're long and seeing if it wants to hold on to VWAP right now. That is your TQQs. What's up, Adara?
Keep an eye here on IBKR and COIN. IBKR reportedly expanding their crypto futures offering with Coinbase derivatives. So neither stock moving too much on this, but again, IBKR and COIN looks like that's a combined or combination here. Again, IBKR expanding crypto futures offerings through COIN derivatives. Back to you.
Right. Thank you, Dara. They'll report. Coinbase will report on Thursday. Tonight we get the first, I guess, in the group, which will be Robinhood. That'll be a big one, obviously. Still not much action. Bitcoin's at 68.7. If it gets closer to 70, I might take another stab at it. But throw up the super chat, Andre. It's a good time as any if you've got it there. We've got MRDN Game Development, I'm going to guess. Thank you for the super chat. You're from Canada because I see the CK in the super chat. Thanks for the hog play. You big gain this morning. So that'll be, of course, Harley Davidson on earnings. Back into the green. It's up a point. What a reversal for hog. Down there, unbelievable. Just wants to see where the support was on that bid, but just ran off that 17 all the way up to $21, pulling back with the rest of the market just a little bit here is Harley Davidson. But thank you for the super chat. Lots of earnings names here to talk about. No questions asked. Datadog has been moving around. Oscar is still trying to go a little further. It's now consolidating at this 1380 mark. Doesn't want to make that next push, so it hasn't given a reload off VWAP. It hasn't pressed into the high, so we're kind of in a, hold it until it gets back into that 1420 level. Oscar, of course, another earnings name as well. And we appreciate all the viewers out there. Thank you for putting those dollar signs in on the visualizer. I just saw Alibaba. It always makes me smile when people are paying attention. It's still, believe it or not, Microsoft on the top of the visualizer, as the market strength feels like it's being buoyed by Softy, but you wouldn't know it on this pullback. So Softy back to the 420 level. This is a hilarious coincidence. Both times I pulled this chart up, it's been at $420. So if you want good luck, if it gets down to like 415, then I'll pull it up and then it'll eventually bounce back to that 420 level. Softy giving a little bit back here. Got to watch out for that because that's where the strength was to lead us to the highs. If that can't go, then we got a little bit of trouble. So I mentioned where the stop would be on Intel. Right in here, it's pretty much always the prior bar from trading off a trend. That's going to be about 48.88. Let's go to Adara. It's time for the small cap recap.
Indeed it is. I want to start with this one because it's kind of an interesting move, and unfortunately I couldn't find too much on it, but this is AnySphere 3D. This was halted, and as you can see, gapped up. This, I guess this halt ended around 9:30, 9:35. Again, no info that I could find on this, but we do have about a $5.5 million market cap, float of just under 4 million shares. Then let's talk here about QNCX, because these next two actually do have catalysts and making more of a move as well. Quince Therapeutics, QNCX, on the move after announcing yesterday after the bell that they're exploring strategic alternatives. Then you've got ESOA, and this is an earnings play. Energy Services of America posting earnings of 16 cents per share above estimates of 9 cents. They also beat on sales. So ESOA and QNCX, two main small cap movers on watch today. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Dara. We'll try to turn these negative days around a little bit here today, but we're trying to get, oops, that's still the TQ. Sorry, Micron, there it is, man. That's maybe the top tick of the day. We'll see, hopefully not, because we are now long on the futures, and I just offered 27s right there, and we got missed. Went to 25. Let's see if we can get up into the highs. Right now, I mean, you know, we definitely held that VWAP. It was a little scary there on the downside, and we immaturely got out because we had saw Micron, and I sort of was hoping that that might have been able to fall. So if that kept on going, I didn't want to give back what we had. That was a little. That just came in so quickly there that I didn't get a chance. Like, I always wanted to take 52 long, but didn't give me a chance, obviously, to cancel it. I wasn't even thinking about it when we took that Micron short. So that's going to be an interesting level to look at here on the Nasdaq if it does wind up coming back in. But I mean, just a quick look at what's been happening, you know, obviously in these broader markets. I mean, Bitcoin's still 69,000 and not doing a whole heck of a lot as we look to think about like what's been strong versus what's been weak here today, right? I mean, the financials look like they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Yeah, let's go JP Morgan, man. Really happy with that one, up 1.16% again. Goldman, MasterCard, we had that. We asked the Derek yesterday, like, what's up with that as far as MasterCard and Gold, Visa? We didn't really see a story, so they're back to the upside there today. Robinhood's always in here somewhere. I have no idea where, but that was upside a little bit so far today. There we go. Nice take on the TQs. Keep going upside. Just wish we would have, damn it, held on to all of that there again. So those are the financials. A little bit of a mixed board in tech land as we had Google downside. So yeah, getting hit a little bit. I mean, again, the big Capex spend, all three of these names have it, and you know they're kind of going different spots right now. Palantir battling today on kind of a downgrade, I guess, by Michael Burry there, talking technicals. CRM, good battle back yesterday for Salesforce. Yeah, wow, that 170 bottom might have been there. You're at to 196 right now on Salesforce, so we'll have to watch that one as we continue to go. The retail trade, we've been talking about that one. That's been banger right there. Not TJX, Target right there, 117. We're going to look over there. Costco, Walmart, Amazon with the upside play there on day 4 or so for earnings. We talked about Caterpillar a little bit today. Consumer services, everything going upside now. Disney blasting higher. We actually looked at Disney yesterday. That was a really good name. Wow, Micron. Looks like I do. Do we have a super chat? It looks like we do have the top of the day there on Micron, by the way. Boo on me for that. Damn you, Micron. Sorry about that, Salvador, and everybody in the chat that's trading right there. Yeah, that does look like it wants to break down. So there it goes, man. We had it. We got stopped out. It's still P&L 1, but, you know, at the end of the day, we could have had a little bit of a better trade on that one from Micron. And rats is all I can say. Wow, man, that's now $5 in the money, but the stop out is for real, and we did take that stop right there as well. All right, you're really liking the long on Disney. Yeah, I mean, I really like it, so you can go ask Neil about that one, but we've been liking Disney for a while. Damn you.
I think that for Disney, I'm going to have to use a higher time frame.
Damn you,
because
Micron.
I think one of the biggest looks on Disney recently, or at least for, whoops, that's still the IS. There we go. Would be the 125. So you're looking at this one. I know in a lower time frame. I know you're talking about 111, but there's been a seller for the last 3 years on the stock between 120 and 125, where there's just been a ton of control on Disney. So yeah, you've got this local breakout happening here, but remember, there is that resistance spot, which is just forever, it seems like. It's only a few years, but forever it's felt like it's been there. You do have the nice rounded bottom. It's trying to fill in a local gap. But that's the only cautionary tale I would have. It's just looking at where the key price levels have been. And I always like that monthly chart. Like when we get into a market like this where, you know, you've got the market at the highs and some things going into bear territory and we get these bigger moves and pullbacks, I like to look at that weekly and monthly chart just a little bit more. And I know we had that super chat on Hog, and there's a couple of other ones up there. Thank you very much, Andre, for getting that up. We have Mac. Rivian is threatening to climb out of the basement. So many things are threatening to climb out of the basement. But I would argue it's not the basement. It's more like think of it like a split level where it's like the second floor. The basement's down around 10, 11 bucks. So yeah, you're getting higher low support on Rivian. Like this one, I don't think you can call it the basement when a stock has a profile like this. It's in a channel off the bottoms, right? Like it's almost like it's just putting in higher lows. each little breakout, and for the first time recently was able to actually break out this top that got made on the first bounce, but higher low trend for Rivian where you just buy it off these dips. I keep thinking it'll get to a support level, but if it keeps, the buyers step in before it even gets to the support level, that's how you get an uptrend. In essence, it's exactly what an uptrend is. Like, it doesn't get to the next level of support, it just makes one that's even better. On that theory, I would think at least, technically, if this doesn't get to 18 in the 50 period, that's not even that good of a move, in my opinion. But yeah, Rivian trying to get off the basement there. I'm just going to quickly go back to Oscar, because the next setup I'm waiting for is another patient entry. So it finally broke out above VWAP, but it didn't follow through. We put it on a nice higher low. I'd like it to do this base again, show me that same type of strength, and then I'll add to the position, probably scalp out again, look for the push back into the highs. So that's the plan of action for myself over here on Oscar. We'll see if it'll end up working out at the end of the day. Ooh, no, Joe Black just said Hims game over. What is it with this stock? Unable to, like, you can make the move, but you can't sustain the move, Hims. Yesterday, there were actually some buyers when they pulled their Wegovy knockoff or Wegovy copy, whatever you want to call it, because of the lawsuit from Novo, but there were still relief buyers for the majority of the day. Those relief buyers seem to be gone on Hims, now down 5%, and it just broke the floor. Oh, this is hilarious. This is kind of what I was hoping would happen to the stock. Well, I was trading it to the short side. I shouldn't say hoping it would go down, but we were trading it to the sell side yesterday. If I can't find the setup on Intel, this is a bit of a flat bottom break and a trend down. So if it can maintain the trend line, that'd be great. But if it breaks it, look for maybe a VWAP or trace over on Hims. But it's Oscar that has my attention. Just want to see it hold that volume weighted average price. Looks like it's doing it again. It's going to go for the reload, and then we'll go round 2 on Oscar. Although the biggest round was at the open. Like, if you just took this literally off the open at 13, you got your dollar. Now we're looking for the scalp trade on Oscar just to see if it can get back up to that 14.20.
Yeah, I like 14.20. Wow, okay, that'd be a good trade there for Oscar for sure on the day. All right, so we did get a reload there on the TQs. I mean, you know, a couple reloads at good prices. So when we come back up to the 25 period moving average, we're just going to empty it out again. We're not going to turn green yet on the TQs. Hopefully we do get an upside move into the 40s there, and we are offering 38. So I'm literally trying to offer the high of the day now on the Nasdaq. Where's my... There it is, on the Nasdaq. So we'll see. I mean, up right into there. We're trying to respect this 25 period moving average. We've been doing some work on that, looking at that. So, all right, what else is moving around? XOM came back into 150, so we can have a quick look there. Yeah, 150 bounced pretty clean off of that number as well. So there's 149.80 right off the open, bang, up about $1. Honestly, Micron, come on, man. Stop a fail on me for Micron. Like I said, it's still top stock, but definitely not liking where it is right now. Yeah, XOM. So underneath. I mean, this to me is looking like a short, just because if we break this level, we probably at least test that. But yeah, this is what I'm looking at for Micron right now. We nailed that top tick right there. Trying to play off of, you know, yesterday's close, the 200 period moving average on the 5-minute chart as well. So good look there, but bad execution as that continues its move higher into that play. We have Robinhood earnings tonight, so join us for that. Upside right here. So Robinhood flushes early. Micron is 376. That flush right there, good move. But now trading a day of earnings is always pretty risky. But if IBIT and Bitcoin keep going to the high side there, we can also look at Coinbase, obviously, to see if that's doing anything. But there goes IBIT, almost looking exactly like a Robinhood chart. So now we might know what to base it off of. 39.50 was another trade that we had marked down there for IBIT. It gets to 39.45 before dropping $1. So that was a missed opportunity that I didn't take. But that was at 920, so I'm not, you know, with the levels I like to write down, we've been burned on taking them early, so we're not going to do that, but it's coming right back up for IBIT again into 39.50, which if we're going to zoom it out, this is sort of why we were looking at it. There's the close into yesterday. I mean, the close is up here, but that was a nice little bouncing area. That's something that we sort of teetered off of before moving higher. So 39.50 coming in for IBIT, but it's up and away right now for the futures. Maybe we can get a nice move just a little bit higher now. You know know what, I'll take something out at 27s right there. So there it is, boom. Actually, we took 26s there. So another out near those highs for the Nasdaq. And now we'll just wait to see if it can get into even a higher level, man. We're looking at that 38 level. So far, so good there.
Yeah, so far so good. I mean, ultimately, this market is liking it to the upside, but you're starting to see Palantir. I haven't traded Palantir yet. It did not get to the lows, but I'm starting to see it try to threaten to break trend a little bit. Oscar is going to take first profit, but I did want to go over. I mean, Palantir was only a news story because of the Michael Burry thing, which ultimately isn't really much of a catalyst either direction. It may cause some sentiment to the downside, but it does have this, a couple of lower highs being put in, and now if it breaks VWAP, it will also be trying to break out this trend line. So it does not pull back into prior support, or at least all the way there, but there's a chance to break out that trend line above the volume weighted average price. And now that we have a couple of points on it, at least on the higher time frame. So Oscar again trying to go. Intel's right back at the low of the day, so slap to fail. I probably did not have. I got this topping tail candle as we were trying to break down and flush the second part of the move for Intel. It ends up topping tail, getting a topping tail out, which is not always the best. I'll just be more patient next time. Wait for it on the upside and then use a topping tail candle to get me in instead of trying to take a breakdown on INTC. So Palantir starting to wake up a little bit and give you some opportunity to break out here above the volume weighted average price. I did not hit save, so I will do it now so we can see if this can break through. It's not leading the market though. Like the reason the Nasdaq is at the high, you've had a rebound here in Alphabet. It's mostly been the Microsoft story, and that just woke up again, back through that 420, gravitating toward the highs. It's like what is dead may never die. Microsoft now, that's a few days in a row. The dead cat bounce is certainly on. Like the beleaguered names, the dip buyers seem to say, hey, that's a little too far on Softy, and you're getting the nice relief rally for them. Maybe not as much. So like looking at the Mag 7, like Apple. Apple's a little bit boring today, but the good news for Apple is when we had that big tech rally in yesterday's trade, Apple was a sell. Today, it's at least flat. I'll take that. I think that's a win for Apple. If there's some rotation back into some of the risk names and some of the growth names, then it's okay if Apple's going to be flat because that's outperforming what it was doing previously at least. So, take the good with the bad here for Apple and this overall market. Come on, Palantir, do something.
Yeah, we're just starting to get some profits on the TQs. We didn't get our 38s. We got 35s there, and now I'm trying. Oh no, we didn't. And I'm trying to get 29s. I thought maybe we just got them, but we didn't. So a little bit more of a bump up there, and we'll take out just a little bit more there on the TQQs. I was looking at congratulations and boom and awesome and bullish. And another one for SoFi. I mean, there it is, man. Yesterday we had written down 21. Yesterday it was the single biggest trade, and we were happy with it, man. It was SoFi right there at the lows yesterday of 21 bucks. Just kept on buying, and there it goes to the upside yesterday, which was a big trade, but we didn't get this. We can get going this much. Day 2 play. So we'll have to definitely have a look because that came right back into 21 again. Like if this was yesterday, I would have bought this name obviously hand over fist. We bought it all 3 times. It did that yesterday and we missed it there. That's right off the open. So if I'm not looking at SoFi to begin with, that I'm not there, but we should have continued the play, right? From like what we were looking at today, like just like we're looking at Palantir today and IBIT, like we should continue to look at those levels tomorrow if we don't get the fills today. But yesterday with what was PL1, we should have gone back to it. So lesson learned there. Nice play for SoFi, up 3%. So congratulations to anybody that was able to hold that from yesterday. We're flat, obviously, at the end of every single day. All right, so the futures have come back in. That's completely fine. We have our strategy for that. JP Morgan hanging out topside. So shout out to JP, man. They didn't really stop at all here today. Just motored in the first minute and then has kind of just hung out a little bit. That 324 being a nice bottom now for that. So it looks like the market might, someone in the chat there, market only goes up. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Feels like that's been sort of what's been going on right now. But if you're looking at the Nasdaq, this is the one that is, the Qs. This is the one that's actually down and not at all-time highs. I mean, we had the Dow make all-time highs this morning. We could, and obviously yesterday as well. But this was 640, 637. You're down to 616, so you're down 2% here on the Nasdaq heading into today. So maybe if you're thinking about buying some value, you can get it in the Nasdaq right now if you're looking for all-time highs again. And then here's the MAGS ETF. I've been talking about this. This is 16% of each of the MAG 7. So if you think that there's some value in the MAG 7, and they've been a little bit too beat up on Capex worries, on the AI bubble that's turning out to be the opposite, that would be something to look at there for MAG. So you get from $64 possibly back up to 68, 69. So I definitely like this name here for the MAG 7 if you did think that there was some sort of push back, because Amazon's getting it going today, but it's still Google was down 2%. Microsoft, I think, was up today, but Google was down. Yeah, there it is, 1.6. It was actually down to 315 at one point. That's not great. There broke through VWAP and had a run, but now maybe is looking to pull back. Obviously, I'm long the market, so I'd like this market to go back up, but that's a look there. And then another MAG 7 name today, Amazon. So, just like I'm buying XLE a little bit to get exposure to all of the big name energy plays in the United States, buying MAGS, MAGS does give you that exposure to all of these, and that way you're not picking and choosing. But nothing wrong with picking and choosing. I mean, there could be some stories that you like and stories that you don't like. And just like Oracle yesterday, that was down there at 150. Now they've had a couple good days in a row now of positive reaction to their debt financing. So Oracle up another 4% here today. I thought that was probably this and Coinbase, I think, are the names that are too beat up that probably need to get back to the upside, Oracle and Coinbase.
Well, we'll find out about Coinbase again on Thursday, how they're going to do. I think Robinhood, look, let's be real, Coinbase probably moves tonight on Robinhood earnings. It probably moves a heck of a lot if Bitcoin continues this charge to the upside. We're almost at 70. Okay, we're not almost at 70K. I'm overstating it. We're at 69.3. Why is that all? There we go. 69.3 here on IBIT. So we're close to 70,000. I've slapped the trend line on from the lows. We're short under VWAP. It could not hold underneath the volume weighted average price. But the next look is this broke trend in the afternoon, and we shorted it at 315. It just held the upward trend. So you really had to wait for this to break the trend line. But we could also get back to where we were. I mean, go with the opening range lows or highs, support, and then in the aftermarket, this 39.6. So if it gets to that level, that's another good spot just in terms of a level for a bit of a reversal. But I am waiting for this trend line to break on IBIT to take my next shot at it. I don't mind looking for that secondary push underneath VWAP, but once that breaks, above the volume weighted average price, short needs to be monster level up top or break the trend line, and I can get into it. Palantir did not want to go. So Palantir gets right into VWAP and can't seem to break out. It does give a third point, so it's still downward trending into a flat bottom. Still setting up for that trend break on Palantir, but if I'm looking for the long, it's got to break this downtrend, or it's just not going to be interesting to me. So IBIT is the next one that I'm going to be looking for. We still have Oscar, almost said Oracle, but of course it's Oscar. And it just reload off VWAP. It's still holding the higher low. It's just not moving the way it was in the morning. Well, it's still the morning, but at the open is how I should say it. Like the open, it was like $1. Now it's sort of moving 15, 20 cents at a time, which is not as explosive as you want it to be. And I just want to throw something in, because someone was asking in the chat when you were mentioning the MAG, and they were sort of saying, what about like the ETF? It's the IGV. So like you always just make sure you're looking.
IGV is software.
Yeah, but it's like a ton of. Well, what we're going to say is, you have to know what you want exposure to. If you were looking to say, this software SaaS dump is too far, IGV that's probably where you'd want to do the ETF dip buy, if that was your play. If you're looking for more of like a safe is the word I'm going to use here, but maybe people don't think that. That's just sort of my opinion. If you're ever looking for that more, hey, I just want the MAG, I just want the safety, and I think they've been hit a bit too far, it's just a matter of understanding what you want to express. Or you could say, I'm all in on Oracle on the software play because you like an individual stock, but very different, the software names. Like you're only. It's
like saying I want X, like I'm talking MAG 7, these guys are talking software.
Well, it's just, look, someone asked the question, why not? So I don't mind. It's just, what are you looking to get exposure?
But why not? What was the question?
Well, they just simply said, as you were talking about, they're like, why not look at IGV?
Oh, yeah.
And I would simply say, it's what are you trying to get exposure to?
Yeah.
right? And if you're trying to get exposure to the dip buy in the software stocks that have been crushed, IGV would make a lot of sense. If you're looking
Micron, no.
if you're looking to be a little more safe, you might think about the mags in tech. Or you could do it more extreme and just buy the Qs. It's just what you're looking for. Let's go back to Adara. It is 10:40. I believe that means we got to go to Sector Watch.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of these sectors are pretty mixed. There's not too many that are all moving as a group. Though we'll start with the ones that are. Consumer non-durables generally negative for the most part, led to the downside by Coca-Cola, though Nike actually relatively strong here. Energy minerals weak across the board. In terms of strength, you actually do have consumer durables holding up relatively well, with Tesla up 1.5%. Consumer durables being led by Disney, mostly to the upside as well. And health services also relatively strong. Now let's talk about these other sectors that are kind of moving not necessarily all in tandem. Retail trade very much split 50-50. CVS up almost 3% here on earnings. Amazon, Home Depot, and Lowe's also strong, though Costco and Walmart trading lower by about 1% each. Electronic tech really flat for the biggest components in the sector. Then you've got Intel and Micron sharply to the downside, and other names like Cisco trading higher. Tech services probably the most obviously kind of fragmented of these sectors, for lack of a better term, with Netflix, Oracle, AppLovin all trading up 3.5 to 4% higher or more. Then you've got Google and Meta to the downside. One sector I also forgot to mention that's relatively strong, finance. A lot of these names doing quite well today, with American Express and Blackstone both up around 3% each. So all in all, a lot of these sectors are not necessarily trading as a group, though the ones that are, you're going to notice right away, again, like energy minerals and consumer non-durables. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adara.
Here we go, Trader SIOS here. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, me too. We had silver short 75. And, to not follow what you write down really does suck. So obviously real traders will beat themselves up over some trades, but you got to look forward because there's always other trades there. And I know you and I are probably trying to trade, to make a little bit of income, which is why we actually talk like that. So when you miss trades, it sucks, and that's why I was saying to myself, like, I could beat myself up over this Micron, but I mean, look at it, right? So the only thing it's done is cost me money in my pocket, which sucks, but there's always going to be that next trade. So we'll stop out there for like, 50 cents? And then now it's, $7 in the money. But what are you going to do? We made money when it went down and there it is. So it's just more, I'm with you on the silver trade because I don't know what your trade was. You just talked about missing the silver trade there. So, it was probably something similar to what I was doing, or you were maybe, I don't know what else there might have been today for silver, unless you were kind of long there and then missed that bump there, or you re-shorted it, which I should have done against that 75 that I liked short in the first place. So nice move to the downside, man. We nailed it. We nailed the call, but I don't have the right execution. So unfortunately, that's what that is. We have silver and Micron today will be like, those great trades that just didn't pan out, and we'll basically be net on them, so it's fine. But yeah, that does suck. So I am with you on that one over there. So I can see that maybe the same thing happened to you, Joe. There, he said caught a huge move and break even. Was that on silver as well? Yeah. So same thing there for Joe. So so good look, but obviously not the greatest in the execution there for that. And look, sometimes you get stopped out when you want to, and that situation on silver, we wanted to get stopped out there. So it was a pretty good execution. Breaks back down below 75, and that just should have been the short as wow. All right, still going, guys. So unfortunately, there it goes, man. SLV, big congratulations, anybody on that short. We'll try to follow our own sticky note moving forward.
It's all about following the plan of action. I think ultimately, that's the only, I only ever get mad or upset.
Yeah,
like,
that's
if
what
I
it
break
is.
a rule or don't, break a rule first. Missing a trade happens, but if you break a rule on a trade that you do make, that always irks me the most. But if you're looking for the next, just make sure it's an actual setup. That's what we say every single time. Like if you can, I want IBIT. Like I'm looking IBIT short. IBIT's been a loser today. I'll be 1 for 3 if Oscar stops out. But ultimately, the way I look at it is I haven't had anything which is away from the plan yet, which is good. That way, you're not losing more than when you win on a potential setup. Speaking of which, I'm trying to break this trend line as we speak. Once that happens, get the confirmation, it's the standard, get my entry, somewhere around 39.25, and then give it to the prior bar high, look for the VWAP retracement because that's going to be the jam. And Palantir might end up being a bit of a no trade, but it still has a chance to set up, man. Palantir right back into these lows. It's well above the 140. It's 142.90 where it closed, and this support's at 142.6. So that's the range of the support level, but it can still break the trend line for an entry as well. I don't usually like it if it breaks the trend line right in front of VWAP, but if it does take all day long, we can wait for it. And then when we get our one shot, then just try to take the position when it does try to come in there. And obviously the market is it's an inside day for the overall market. So you want to find, if things aren't breaking into new price areas, I find that I have to have some kind of a support and resistance or some way to get something which is stretched to be able to get a bit of a move. So that's why looking at IBIT, like this is stretching itself a little bit. And I'm still bearish. As long as 70,000 holds underneath, it's hard for me to be very bullish about Bitcoin in general. Very muted. I know it bounced off 60,000, but since it's done that, it's not like it's doing a heck of a lot of following through there for IBIT. So Palantir, trend break, IBIT, trend break. Those are the two things on my mind. We got about less than 15 minutes to go here, everybody. As we throw you guys to the midday where you'll see some of the small cappers. I've heard, we saw a lot this morning. I know Luis said he didn't see a lot of small cappers. There were a bunch in the pre-market, and then Sharif was messaged saying that there's been a lot of active small cappers out there, so it has been a good day in that regard. So hopefully you're able to, the small cap traders at least, were able to pick up some. I know we had, I think it was PHIO was the one that was looking pretty good off of the open. So I hope that's doing well for people. It's still above VWAP, which typically usually means it's been going well for momentum traders, but it hasn't broken a new high. I'm always worried of the gappers that fail to break the high. Like it can't make a new high. Like the pre-market is still the tops, but part two would be hold on to VWAP. At least it's doing that. So good luck. I know a lot of small cap traders out there taking advantage of this name. 121 million in volume for PHIO.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we should probably be, I know it'll be a negative day, but we should probably start to look at some small cappers if they start to run. So that's a good one, PHIO. Right there. So, yeah, just looking around to see if there's any opportunities. Thanks to everybody today. I want to look at Coinbase. We can check out Coinbase just a little bit and see what that's doing. 166. I really like Coinbase as a potential play to the back end of crypto, right? I mean, if you think crypto is going to blast off, I showed you Coinbase already with that 14 PE. And similarly with Oracle, we've seen Oracle with a good story get back there to the upside. So we'll continue to see if Coinbase has that bump ability in it right there. But that's something to look at so far, Coinbase, if we get something going on there. Quick check with NVIDIA. So we're still long the TQs, and that's been fine, making a little bit back right there now. Silver's really the mistrade, and then the Micron is a good trade, like I said, still up there, but not great. For where it is right now. NVIDIA taking out VWAP, so this could be something. We'll say, oh my God, maybe we are on a rally back to the upside there. As I've said already, like even yesterday, right, just trade it, hold it, don't trade it right now. I mean, and if there was a top end, we just made it, and so maybe now we retrace back in just a little bit here for NVIDIA. So upside down right now for NVDA, just kind of stuck in the middle there, unlike what its sort of friend is doing, AMD, as that just continues. I guess literally its cousin, I guess, moving around. And you could see AMD just up and down and around. They had a huge range. Like their range is much greater than the one that we see right now in NVIDIA, going from 260 all the way down to 190 and now kind of hovering, not in the middle, but close enough to doing that. This is looking like it wants to get a little lower if we don't deal with this 50-period moving average. All right, we're going to go off to Adair, then we're back for everybody's favorite segment. It's What's for Lunch, but first, let's go over to Adair and figure out what she's up to.
This is truly fantastic timing, guys, because Howard Lutnick is actually just now, as we speak, answering questions about the weakening of the U.S. dollar. And his answer is a pretty interesting one, so I do want to go over it. He's saying that, quote, the dollar was manipulated higher over many years due to, again, trade surpluses he's basically saying that right now the dollar is at a natural place. So we think this drop in the dollar is taking it to a more natural level, more or less, because of what he views as prior manipulation to the upside for the DXY. Speaking of the DXY, right now it's actually coming to a session low. We are down here for 3 straight days, and again, that $98 area, a level of technical rejection. Let's talk about the CME Fed Watch tool. 80.4% of participants expecting that we're not going to get any type of rate change in March 18th, 2026. Still over a month away, though, of course, gradually getting closer here now. It's worth noting a week ago, 90.6% of participants were expecting that the rates were going to be held steady. So we're seeing this very, very gradual increase, about 10% increase now versus a week ago, of participants that think we could get a 25 basis point rate cut. The other months are showing the exact same estimates, though it is worth noting here for June, you still have about 25% of participants expecting a cut, but then roughly 50% expecting, 25% of participants expecting a hold, and then again about 50% expecting we're going to get that cut. So June 17th, 2026, still looking like the earliest date that we're very likely to get a cut for now, unless we get new data coming in of course, the coming weeks and months. Now, it's worth noting in the coming days, we are going to get some key data, CPI on Friday, and the NFP print, which was delayed from last week, that's going to come in on Wednesday. Back to you.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, we're excited for the data to come through, give us some more reasons to go long or short. But we're going to figure out what data is coming in for lunchtime right now. Today's good, man. We always have successful lunches whenever the flag is from the lovely country of Thailand. So it should be good today.
Okay.
Thai red chicken, I don't know. We'll see if that's good. I mean, the chicken has been chickeny, with curry stir-fried veggie, so that's good. So a red curry, looks like a red curry stir-fry, chicken stir-fry. It looks like what we're doing there, with steamed jasmine rice and mixed green salad. So that's not too bad. That is what's for lunch today. So not bad Thai flavor. So, you know, it's never supposed to probably be a little spicier than it is, but it's not too spicy right there. As oh man,
well, it won't be many chilies, I'll promise.
Yeah, you know, it won't be too many chilies, that's for sure. Micron down to 374 right now, so obviously in what was a monster trade there. Hopefully some of you guys are still on that as the market trying to lose bid right now and come back into said downside. So there we go, man. Micron losing the bid right there. We nailed that one off of some of these dark pool wicks, off of yesterday's close, off of a nice move back there, and then the fail back down in for MU. So, you know, whatever, spilt milk on that one. More spilt milk, though, on the futures trade of silver, because we should have had that one in SLV. So just a couple missed opportunities there. You know, I'll be red here today, small, you know, nothing really too much to talk about, but we're going to be red on the day, and you know, that's what it is for today. Hoping for better action this afternoon. We did have a little bit of a pullback now in the TQs. Did that go to VWAP there? What am I waiting at? I'm waiting at 91, and there it goes, man. It goes to 93s and pulls back upside. So yeah, just a little bit of an action there. You know, red today. We'll get it back for the afternoon.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, right? Like you said, like keep it in the pocket. I finally broke the trend line, so I'm into it. Give it to the high. It's really just about finding that next entry. I do like the fact that the market is doing a very similar pattern, but if we take out the top in the market, I do anticipate Palantir is probably going to set up that long that we're talking about. We only have 5 minutes to go. Palantir is nowhere near that breakout level, so this, if it does end up a long finally on Palantir, it's going to end up being like during the midday or the afternoon at this point. I just can't see it. It is what it is. Like Palantir, I thought was going to be. The good news is it hasn't set up a really good long that I've liked, so I haven't traded it. But I did think it was going to be one of the better opportunities out there for some continuation explosion. Obviously, there was no breakout at 146, but that level has at least provided us with some kind of a trend to look at here on PLTR. And then NVIDIA was just trying to press through VWAP, but it's that 190. We cannot break $190. This was my kind of over-under level. If we're not closing above it on a 15-minute chart, then I don't want to be long on NVIDIA. This has a good chance to do it here and reverse this trend. Closing above 190 on the 15-minute in the next 5 minutes. That'll also probably happen in the midday of trade. So like none of the real A-plus setups, we didn't get to the A-plus level on IBIT. So you know, if I go 0 for 3 on IBIT, it'll be 1/4 of my best win yesterday. And I think that's the way I want to look at it. Like, make sure that you're not losing more than what your better winners are giving you on the week, on the month, like that kind of a thing. But Palantir still trying to go. It's kind of annoying to me because I kind of feel like this was so strong yesterday in PLTR. And then we get this weird Michael Burry head and shoulders setup that was like a while ago that it set it up. And I felt like this had a chance to kind of squeeze. Like if it emboldened shorts, this had a real chance to squeeze people. It still could happen, but it's going to have to do something in the next couple of minutes. Because if we take out that low, all of a sudden that trade is going to be gone if we lose yesterday's close. Once this goes red, it becomes a whole different ball game. I should say if it goes red, but it is kind of trending towards that now for PLTR.
Yeah, love some Palantir. All right, we are getting into a moment now where we're going to try it, and then if we lose the futures right here at VWAP, then yeah, look out below. Micron now $10 props on that one now in the money as, okay, here we go. So now we're starting to get to the downside right now with the TQQs and the Nasdaq as we're breaking lower. There it is, breaking through VWAP. So, you know, those highs of sort of the day have been holding. Let's now see if the lows wind up holding into here for the overall market, or the Nasdaq anyways. I don't know. We can have a quick look at the ES. I'm assuming going the same way. ES, yeah, also at VWAP. So if you like some exposure to the NQs, you're here right now, but it is looking like it wants to break right now into some of those lows. So the Nasdaq trying to get lower here. We could have, you know, maybe not averaged into it, but it's not a huge space right here. We can lose 10 cents. This is just worth it. Back into VWAP. We'll see if it wants to hold some of those low takes right now on the Nasdaq. But after that, silver downside, Micron downside. Let's have a quick look at Tesla, see if that's trying to hold up now as the market's falling back in pretty good now. So nice little move back. Look at Tesla, still up 1.5% as that one looks like it wants to make some moves here for Tesla. So that might be a little dip buy opportunity as it dips now. It's trying to get back upside there, 425. A good level look for Tesla here today, 425. So watch out for that break if the market can find some strength here on a dip, right? I mean, looks like Tesla's been stronger than the rest of the market here today. Similarly with Amazon, really got going. So on any dip buys, you know, if we can get into VWAP or the 200 period right here for Amazon, that may also be worth some kind of a look down there as well. So, all right, man, you know, we got to get ready to get out of here. The Nasdaq's trying to battle back just a bit here, so we'll see if we can take it out as there it goes. You got some 95s out right there, and there it is, 99s, O's, 01s, 02s. We're starting to fly just a little bit right now, so let's see if we can get a little bit of a face slapper going now as we buy the dip on the Nasdaq, and now it starts to head a little northbound for us. So finally, something kind of working out here on that dip buy. So yeah, we'll take it and see if we can get just a little bit higher now. Offer some 03s, maybe we get those, maybe we don't. But there it is, nice little rebound trade there for the Nasdaq. So we'll put some more of that in our pipe and smoke that now to the upside and see if it gets going now. You know, we always, whoa, I was gonna say we're gonna try to get out at this level. So there it is right now, 07s, 08s. We'll cross out and get some more out right now on that because that's your 50 period moving average. So a nice little dip buy there, taking advantage of that move back to the upside on the Nasdaq. Hey man, maybe we have a run into us here into the close, into the midday. So
yeah.
Here we go. Nasdaq long right now off of a dip buy into VWAP. Let's see if it works out and gets a little bit of love back up. I mean, the Nasdaq's going. Hopefully, Bitcoin can go.
NVIDIA's going.
60, okay, perfect.
NVIDIA's going to close. There's 1 minute to go, but at this point, it's going to close above VWAP here on NVIDIA. But it just broke out that 190 level. So for the first time, well, okay, fine. At 936, it lost the $190 level, but for the first time since then, we are breaking back above. So I want to give this one to the volume weighted average price in here. Only about 30 seconds to go, but NVIDIA finally looking like a long, and it did so before Palantir did, so it is what it is at this point. Bitcoin is still exactly where it was when I left it before. IBIT. I was saying Bitcoin, and I actually typed in Bitcoin in the chart, which is completely useless. But we are still in the same spot we were before. So we're channeling in the side of this range. Going to put something on the bid and then try to hold it to the volume weighted average price. Eventually, Oscar does fail. So we got into it above VWAP, reloaded VWAP. It tried to break off the lows, but Our stop was set at like 9:57. It took an hour to break underneath. But Oscar is now going to be done. It was the initial move that's going to be the best. Like, I think the fail on Oscar was not having it be the first thing I look at, and then we didn't get into it until a little bit later. But again, it is what it is. A loss is a loss. And now we'll look for NVIDIA or Palantir. Hey, at this rate, it's not going to be Palantir. As NVIDIA is trying to break through VWAP, Palantir did just lose the low of the day. Palantir is now in the red. It does not hold the prior day close at all. So, yeah, I mean, at least it didn't actually set up a long trade. But it is low of the day here on PLTR, and NVIDIA trying to break out. It's now green on the session as we go over to Joey Options, Sharif, the professor himself. And I just noticed that Randy left as a present.